Chapter 28-25, New Captain. Chen Ziyun took out a piece of paper and shook it in front of Qiu Ziyu. It had been signed by Zhuo Qingwan herself. He had been gone for a while because he went to look for her to sign the form. Zhuo Qingwan must have deliberately hidden away because she had been very difficult to locate. In the end, Elder Wu gave Chen Ziyun a hand and made her sign it. Chen Ziyun didn't tell the others what he had gone through. He only stared at Qiu Ziyu. Qiu Ziyu pretended to be pleasantly surprised. What? Does she have all the paperwork now? So, she's an official member. But, Qiu Ziyu seemed troubled. She's only just joined us and hasn't been trained. I don't think she knows the rules. Won't it be too risky to let her compete? He was looking for every excuse to stop Feng Wu. He knew she was better than him because he hadn't been able to fight back when she dragged him away. Because of that, he didn't want to give Feng Wu any more chances to show her talent. Chen Ziyun saw through him and was full of disdain. Was Qiu Ziyu trying to give them trouble now? Now wasn't the time for internal strife. Qiu Ziyu didn't know who Feng Wu's patron was, which was why he dared to play such tricks. Chen Ziyun glanced at Qiu Ziyu, and the look gave Qiu Ziyu the creeps. What was going on? You're no longer the captain of the junior team, said Chen Ziyun. What? Qiu Ziyu stared at him in disbelief. Captain, he shouted. Chen Ziyun ignored him and turned to Feng Wu. You'll be the new captain. Feng Wu knew how critical the situation was, so she nodded. No problem. Qiu Ziyu was furious and shouted, I object. Chen Ziyun didn't even look at him. I wasn't asking for your opinion. Qiu Ziyu was furious. Fine. So be it. Since no one wants my opinion, you don't need me anymore. I quit. I'm leaving the junior team. After that, he ripped off his team uniform and threw it on the ground. No one noticed them at first because they had been talking in low voices. Now that Qiu Ziyu had raised his voice, everybody was looking at them. Gong Sun Mu and Chu Yun were both on the stage close by. Gong Sun Mu frowned at Chen Ziyun. Chu Yun glanced at the team and chuckled. What's going on with Imperial College? Are you making changes now? The captain of your junior team has just been dismissed, and he's leaving the team. Gong Sun Mu, is that how you've been teaching your students? They're so divided. Gong Sun Mu felt as if he had been slapped. Chen Ziyun was staring at Qiu Ziyu. The competition is about to start. Are you sure you want to do this? Of course Qiu Ziyu knew that. He thought the team couldn't do without him. They wouldn't value him as much after the competition, and he wouldn't be able to change Chen Ziyun's mind then. At that thought, Qiu Ziyu smirked. If you remove me from my position, I'll quit. Chapter 28-26, Competition 1. Qiu Ziyu thought his threat would work because they didn't have backup players. He thought Chen Ziyun would beg him to stay. To his surprise, Feng Wu spoke first. She said, if you want to ruin your future, you're welcome to do so. The door's right there. You can leave now. Qiu Ziyu went scarlet in the face. However, he didn't have another choice after what he said earlier. Qiu Ziyu glared at Chen Ziyun. Fine. I hope you won't regret your decision. He then marched toward the door. Ziyun, Wang Shao gave Chen Ziyun a pleading look. But Chen Ziyun ignored him. The others were looking at Chen Ziyun as well. It was evident that Qiu Ziyu didn't want Feng Wu to compete. However, they were one member short. What should they do? Sun Yu said grumpily, doesn't he know how important today is? There's no time for his little tricks. We can do without him. We'll borrow someone from the varsity team. So what if it's a little embarrassing? Feng Wu shook her head. That won't be necessary. What? The others all gave her strange looks. Feng Wu was the reason this was happening in the first place. If it had happened to another person, they would have been so flustered by now. Feng Wu, on the other hand, was as confident as ever. We're short, Sun Yu tried to persuade her. Wang Zhao's face darkened. I'll do it. Feng Wu repeated, that won't be necessary. Wang Zhao was so furious that he stared at Feng Wu. I know you're pretty and people like you, but you're crossing the line. It's not the time to be so capricious. Qiu Ziyu and Wang Shao were good friends. so Wang Xiao couldn't help but take Qiu Ziyu's side. Feng Wu only glanced at him. Wang Xiao thought Feng Wu was going to quarrel with him, but she didn't. Her bright eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. She looked at him as if he was an idiot. She didn't seem angry. She seemed perplexed. It was as if she didn't understand why he was so angry. Wang Xiao didn't know what to say. Gong Sun Mu's voice rang out at that moment. You can hand in the names now. Qiu Ziyu had written down the names already. So Feng Wu grabbed a pen, crossed out Qiu Ziyu's name and added hers at the bottom. That was it. Gong Sun Mu and Chu Yun received the name lists at the same time. Gong Sun Mu read it aloud first. The Dynasty team players are Chu Chu, Li Zhan, Zhao Si and Feng Wu. Gong Sun Mu gave Feng Wu a questioning look. Chen Ziyun went up on stage and whispered something in his ear. Nonsense, Gong Sun Mu said angrily. However, the seats were half full, and the military academy was watching. Gong Sun Mu would be embarrassing Chen Ziyun if he scolded the boy now that he could only wait until later. He gave Chen Ziyun a stern look, but Chen Ziyun grinned. Don't worry. Xiao Wu is very talented. Chen Ziyun left the stage after that, and Gong Sun Mu's face was livid. Chapter 28-27, Competition, 2. Next to Gong Sun Mu was Chu Yun, and they had a complicated relationship. What's going on? I heard, Chu Yun said in a mocking tone. Gong Sun Mu ignored her and turned to look at Feng Wu. Feng Wu nodded. We can do it. What choice did Gong Sun Mu have? He could only say, those will be our 4 players. What? The students in the audience were astonished. Not many had come to watch because they all thought their school was going to lose. Even so, 30% of the seats were filled. All the Imperial College students stared at Gong Sun Mu in bewilderment. Wasn't it a 5v5 competition? Each side should have 5 players, and the team with the last member standing would win. Imperial College was likely to lose. If that was the case, why did they only have 4 players? What's going on? Why is this happening? Are we giving up? We don't have to be so proud. Everybody was displeased. Someone said, I saw Qiu Ziyu leave. He's the captain of the junior team, isn't he? I heard Feng Wu made him leave because she's the new captain, according to when the names were announced. Feng Wu? Who's she? She's the new student who's been making all that insane progress. No matter how capable she is, she's still a new student. Why is she qualified to be a team member or participate in the competition? What makes her qualified to be the captain? I can't believe it. That's right. This is so important. If Feng Wu didn't do something, Qiu Ziyu would never have left. Many people started condemning Feng Wu. A person next to Yi Han was saying similar things, and Yi Han jumped to her feet in frustration. What are you talking about? Feng Wu is so talented. Of course she's qualified to be a team member. The girl next to her was frightened by her reaction. The girl was from Class B and knew her classmates didn't like Feng Wu. Almost the entire class was against Feng Wu. Disliking Feng Wu became politically correct. That was why she blurted out those words. To her surprise, Yi Han had switched sides. She remembered Yi Han as one of the people who had hated Feng Wu. Why are you? The girl was scared of Yi Han. Yi Han said aggressively, Feng Wu is amazing. Just wait and see. You'll be convinced. The girl cringed a little, rose to her feet and went to sit somewhere further away from Yi Han. She wondered how Feng Wu was going to convince her. There were many students here, and most of them had heard of Feng Wu's name before or had even had dealings with her. That was especially the case with Class E students. They had spent the most time with Feng Wu because she started her days in the academy as a Class E student. Sun Jingyu, Mu Qianqian, Pei Si and many others had seen how talented she was. At first, there were the anti-fans, the fans, and the neutral party. However, almost all of them turned into Feng Wu's fans in the end. Chapter 28-28, Competition, 3. Hearing that Feng Wu was going to be in the competition, all her fans showed up. That was why a third of the seats were occupied. Without the fans, there would be very few audience members. They all tried to explain to the others how amazing Feng Wu was. However, Feng Wu had skipped classes C and D, so most students didn't know her well. They didn't understand why Class E thought so highly of her. How good could she be? If she got along well with the Class E students, she couldn't be all that capable. Otherwise, she would be so proud and would never socialize with Class E. They decided that Feng Wu had taken away Qiu Ziyu's role in a critical moment like this to buy herself popularity, which only showed how much of a schemer she was. The other students found such a girl terrifying. Hence, they disliked Feng Wu even more. The Class E students were frustrated but didn't know what to do. They tried to explain how excellent Feng Wu was, but they couldn't give any detailed descriptions of her capability because it was beyond their knowledge. Would Feng Wu win? They couldn't say for sure either. Yi Han wasn't sure either, but it didn't stop her from singing Feng Wu's praises. After Imperial College announced their players, Chu Yun announced theirs as well. The military academy's players were Lian Xiao, Luo Mo, Ma Hao, Wang Zhe and their captain, Lan Xiefeng. Chu Yun played a little trick. Seeing that Imperial College announced its captain last, she also announced Lan Xiefeng's name. Gong Sun Mu gave her a knowing look. Chu Yun said confidently, "I'm leaving in 15 minutes. Gong Sun Mu snorted. "You can't leave during the competition." Chu Yun smiled. "It'll be over by then." Gong Sun Mu's face turned livid. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She almost felt sorry for Gong Sun Mu. Chu Yun was so arrogant that Feng Wu wanted to see the woman be humiliated. Chu Yun happened to glance at Feng Wu at that moment, and she sneered at the girl. "That woman." Feng Wu snorted. She extended her right arm and raised her thumb at Chu Yun. Chu Yun smiled, thinking the girl was going to surrender. However, the smile immediately froze on her face. Feng Wu had turned her hand and aimed her thumb at the ground. Was that a provocation? Chu Yun glared at Feng Wu. Chu Yun was a fierce woman. Almost all her students in Imperial College and the military academy were scared of her. No one had disrespected her like this before. She made a mental note of Feng Wu's name. Chu Chu was walking up to the stage. Chu Yun glanced at Lian Xiao and suddenly asked, "Can you defeat all 4 of them?" Lian Xiao had made some great progress and was very confident in himself. He was excited to be the first player. "I'll try." "You'll try?" Chu Yun frowned. Chapter 28-29, Competition 4. Yes, of course. Lian Xiao immediately changed his answer. "I'll defeat all 4 of them." Chu Yun was glad to hear the answer and patted him on the shoulder. "Go ahead." "Yes." Lian Xiao clenched his fists in excitement. If he could defeat all 4 opponents, Chu Yun would give him special treatment in Peace Grassland, and his progress would be even faster. The military academy was used to looking down on Imperial College. Lian Xiao didn't even try to lower his voice. He shouted out his answer. All the audience and the dynasty team wanted to slap him. 1 against 4. He had to be dreaming. Chu Chu was so furious he was speechless. That was such a humiliation. Lian Xiao went up on the stage, and Chu Chu made his move before Lian Xiao could stand still. It was the first battle, and everybody held their breaths and watched with full attention. Feeling indignant, Chu Chu spared no effort and made some very aggressive moves. Although Lian Xiao was playing on the away team, he was much more capable than Chu Chu and could easily avoid his attacks. He started winning after 3 stances. Feng Wu shook her head. "Chu Chu is going to lose." Wang Xiao smirked. "Nonsense. Chu Chu hasn't shown his full strength yet." However, Lian Xiao kicked Chu Chu in the stomach before Wang Xiao could finish, and Chu Chu stumbled back. Lian Xiao took the opportunity to kick Chu Chu several times in a row. Chu Chu's face went scarlet. He didn't want to lose. However, he had reached the edge of the arena. No matter how reluctant he was still kicked out of the arena and fell to the ground. "No!" With blood on his lips, Chu Chu was so angry that he wished he could fight again. However, the kicks he received had severely injured his abdomen. He could barely stand, let alone fight. Zhao Si rushed to his side and helped him walk back to their team. The audience was dead silent. It happened so fast. They had thought that even if Chu Chu lost, he could at least injure his opponent. However, Chu Chu was badly injured, but his opponent was unscratched. Lian Xiao said arrogantly, "Who's next?" Li Zhan gritted his teeth. "I am." He went up on the stage. He wasn't any better than Chu Chu. However, he was more careful than Chu Chu and managed to stay in the game a little longer. But it didn't make much of a difference. In the end, he was kicked off the stage, just like Chu Chu. The other students thought their hearts had stopped beating. That was crazy. How could that happen? Li Zhan had lost so fast. The junior team only had 4 players, and 2 had lost. The competition hadn't started for more than 2 minutes. OMG. Everybody was so frustrated that they wanted to leave. It was terrible to watch their own team getting butchered at home. Wang Xiao was equally displeased. Li Zhan injured Lian Xiao, but it was only a minor injury. Lian Xiao may win the next round too. Nobody spoke. They all knew Wang Xiao was right. Chapter 2830, Competition 5. Why is Lian Xiao so capable? Is he really going to defeat all our 4? Sun Yu was furious. If the names hadn't been announced, he would be going on the stage now. Wang Xiao smirked. That may actually happen. We've never been humiliated like this before. He then gave Feng Wu a dirty look. If Qiu Ziyu hadn't been chased away, this would never have happened. By then, no one believed they had a chance to win. All they hoped for was not to lose too miserably. Feng Wu glanced at Wang Xiao. "Are you referring to me?" Wang Xiao snorted. "You know what I mean." Feng Wu nodded. "Yes. I know myself very well." Wang Xiao turned around in frustration and wouldn't speak to her. "I'll go next," Zhao Si said solemnly. "I'll defeat Lian Xiao even if it costs me my life." Wang Xiao nodded. Feng Wu frowned. "No one's going to die. Just do your best. I haven't competed yet." However, her teammates didn't trust her. Chen Ziyun didn't know what to say. He had been leaning on a column with his arms crossed the whole time. He knew how capable Feng Wu was. The junior team couldn't possibly lose. However, Wang Xiao and the other idiots. Chen Ziyun deliberately remained silent. He wanted to see how surprised the others would be when they saw Feng Wu fight. He snorted a little. Wang Xiao looked back at Chen Ziyun, who was half hidden in the shadows, and was disappointed. He believed Chen Ziyun was infatuated with Feng Wu's pretty face. By then, Zhao Si was already on the stage. Lian Xiao rubbed his chest where Lian Xiao had injured him. It didn't matter. It was only a minor injury. Seeing Zhao Si, Lian Xiao raised his chin and glanced at him sideways. "Are you going to give up, or should I kick you off the stage?" That was so arrogant. Zhao Si and all the other Imperial College students were furious. They wanted to kill Lian Xiao. Zhao Si gritted his teeth. "You're going off the stage this time." Lian Xiao said, "Really? Show me what you've got, then." He immediately charged at Zhao Si. Feng Wu studied his stances. He was indeed one of the best students of the military academy. He had been doing well in the secret essence mine, and his moves were even better now. He exerted his full power with each stance. His fists seemed to weigh 10,000 kilograms. Thump, thump, thump. Although his chest was injured, Lian Zhao's punches got even fiercer. Zhao Si couldn't begin to describe the pressure and pain he was in, but he wouldn't give in. His legs were broken. His wrists were broken. He was kicked in the chest. Zhao Si gritted his teeth and wouldn't give in. Lian Xiao dragged him to the edge of the stage, but he wrapped his arms around Lian Zhao's legs and wouldn't let go. Lian Xiao felt a chill run down his spine. The audience was so nervous that they didn't dare breathe. Chapter 2831, Competition 6. Zhao Si grabbed Lian Zhao's legs and wouldn't let go. Lian Xiao snapped his fingers. trying to loosen his grip and throw him off the stage. It didn't work. Even with his fingers broken, Zhao Si still wouldn't let go. How incredible! He was so stubborn. Lian Xiao started punching him. Zhao Si spat out mouthfuls of blood, but he still wouldn't let go. He only knew one thing. He couldn't lose. He couldn't let Lian Xiao defeat all four of them. The audience had risen to their feet. They were astonished by Zhao Si's persistence. Stop! Feng Wu frowned. Zhao Si, you've lost. Come off the stage. Lian Xiao was relieved. His opponent was so stubborn that he didn't know what to do. Zhao Si glanced at Feng Wu and shook his head. He wouldn't give in. He had a mission. Feng Wu went up on the stage and whispered in Zhao Si's ear. Don't worry. I'll defeat all five of them. Trust me. Zhao Si saw the look in Feng Wu's eyes and stopped resisting. He was finally drained of energy. Something snapped in his head. He fell into Feng Wu's arms and passed out. Feng Wu handed him to Li Zhan, rose to her feet, and stared at Lian Xiao. The audience was crestfallen. They thought they were going to lose. No matter how talented Feng Wu was, she had only just joined the team. The other three were all her seniors. Even they had lost so miserably, what would happen to Feng Wu? Can she even withstand one blow? Somebody asked. No one answered. Deep down they thought the same. Gong Sun Mu, I thought your team would improve after a year. I see they've become even weaker. Lian Xiao is the weakest member in our team, Chu Yun said in satisfaction. He's not even the best student on the junior team. If he defeats all four students, your school will lose all its reputation. How about you ask me nicely? Maybe I'll show some mercy and let Lian Xiao spare one of your players. I was so unlucky when I was with you, but my luck turned around after I left you. Gong Sun Mu, you're such a loser. Chu Yun was so pleased. If she had a tail, she would be wagging it now. Feng Wu heard her, and she glanced at the woman. Chu Yun met Feng Wu's gaze, her expression harboring some malicious intentions. You're quite a nice-looking girl. If you give up now, I'll let you study at the military academy. How would you like that? Chu Yun asked in a matter-of-fact tone, because she was so sure that Feng Wu would say yes. She wasn't usually like this, but she was so excited to defeat her old employer that she had forgotten herself. She wanted to say whatever came to her mind. Chapter 2832, Competition, 7. She smiled at Feng Wu and waited for a yes. All eyes were on Feng Wu. Would she? The students were so worried. Feng Wu beamed at Chu Yun. Screw you. Chu Yun felt as if she had just been slapped. The smile froze on her face. The audience was speechless. So were Feng Wu's teammates. Gong Sun Mu didn't know what to say. Everyone was dumbfounded. She cursed. The most beautiful girl had just smiled and used profanity. It was the most astonishing thing many people had ever seen. Chen Ziyun couldn't believe his ears. He buried his face in his hands and thought, oh no, if the crown prince finds out what his girl said, will he kill me? Meanwhile, Lian Xiao was staring at Feng Wu. He even forgot to blink. I'm Feng Wu, the captain of the junior team. Good luck. Feng Wu was ready for battle. However, Lian Xiao was still dumbfounded. His mind had gone blank. It was her. How could she be the captain of the junior team? He should have looked more closely at that team. Lian Xiao wanted to slap himself. How could he be so stupid? How could he brag that he could defeat all four of them? No. Are you a student? Lian Xiao's voice trembled. Feng Wu nodded. Yup. Lian Xiao said, and you're the captain? Feng Wu nodded. Yup. Chu Yun stared at Lian Xiao. Kick her off the stage. She was furious at what Feng Wu had said to her. However, Lian Xiao bowed at Feng Wu and said, I'm so sorry. I've lost. He turned to walk off the stage after that. Chu Yun was utterly confused. Apart from Feng Wu, everybody was equally confused. They had no idea what was going on. Everybody was asking questions. What happened? Isn't Lien Xiao very capable? He said he was going to defeat all 4 of our players. Why did he just admit defeat? Is it because Feng Wu is so pretty? What's that supposed to mean? Are you saying Feng Wu only has a pretty face? Everybody was discussing it avidly, but they all looked cheerful because the other player had just admitted defeat. Chu Yun was infuriated. She grabbed Lien Xiao when he walked past her. What was that for? She glared at him. Lien Xiao smiled bitterly. I lost. No, you didn't. Chu Yun bellowed. You didn't even fight her. Lien Xiao shook his head. Of course he didn't fight her. If he did, he would be dead. Go back there and fight her. Chu Yun wanted to drag Lien Xiao back onto the stage. Lien Xiao's face went white. I can't miss. Chu, I'm not her match. Lien Xiao said anxiously. Chapter 28:33, Competition 8. Chu Yun stared at Lien Xiao. You've met her before. Lien Xiao nodded. Chu Yun asked, did she defeat you? Lien Xiao said, no, she saved us. He wanted to point out that Feng Wu had saved more than just him, but Chu Yun didn't hear him. She only asked, are you really not going to fight? Lien Xiao said, no, not even if you kill me. I'm not her match. He still remembered Feng Wu's red dress and flashing sword. She was so powerful that he had turned into her fan. Since her team still had 4 more players, Chu Yun didn't insist. She cut Lien Xiao loose. Lien Xiao immediately ran back to his seat. Lu Mo, it's your turn, said Chu Yun. Lu Mo didn't want to fight. He had spotted Feng Wu before Lien Xiao did. He was dumbfounded when he saw her face. What the heck? Wasn't their savior's name Zhuo Qinglan? As it turned out, their savior was Feng Wu and the captain of the junior team. Lu Mo wanted to cry. Even if she weren't their savior, he still wouldn't fight her. He remembered the way Feng Wu killed countless spirit stone worms with a single strike. Lu Mo. Chu Yun stared at Lu Mo and urged him. Lu Mo looked at his teammates. Ma Hao, his best friend, seemed to be studying the pattern on the back of the chair. No one wanted to get into trouble. Lu Mo. Chu Yun was furious. She thought, what's going on? Are they like this because that girl is too pretty? Seeing that Chu Yun wanted to drag him onto the stage, Lu Mo had no choice but to enter the arena. He walked as slowly as he could. Chu Yun grabbed his shoulder when he walked past her. Defeat her? Lu Mo didn't know what to say. It was an impossible task. He gave Chu Yun an indescribable look. He rushed to Feng Wu's side before Chu Yun could react. Lu Mo did the same thing as Lien Xiao. He bowed at Feng Wu. I give up, my savior. After that, he ran back to his seat. He even ran off the stage from Imperial College's side because he didn't want to get scolded by Chu Yun. Chu Yun wanted to kill him. He had given up. Another one. She didn't know what the boys were thinking. Meanwhile, the audience was equally dumbfounded. What's that about? Am I blind, or has the military academy gone mad? 2 of them gave up without fighting. Is her pretty face so useful? They were so confused. Members of the dynasty team were also perplexed. What the heck? Wang Xiao was almost too surprised to speak. How did she do that? Li Zhan said, our opponents are very powerful. Sun Yu said, did he just call Feng Wu his savior? Is that it? Feng Wu helped them before, so they don't want to fight her. Chapter 28:34, Competition 9. Li Zhan said, this is great. They're 2 men down, and we won't lose so miserably. Chen Ziyun shook his head. Can't you be a little more ambitious? Wang Xiao looked at his captain. For example. Chen Ziyun said, for example, why can't we win this battle? Wang Xiao didn't know what to say. Captain Chen, please wake up. Wang Xiao pointed at the stage with a trembling finger. Can't you see what's going on? They're doing us a favor. They called Feng Wu their savior, which means she helped them before. Because of that, they want to return the favor and don't want to embarrass Feng Wu. That's why they gave up. Do you think they'll keep doing that? Do you think they'll keep letting her win? Even if they want to, the other team members won't let them. She couldn't have helped all 5 of them. Just wait and see. She'll be crying in a moment. They're going to kick her off the stage. Wang Xiao was very certain. However, Ma Hao, the 3rd player, disappointed Wang Xiao. My savior, I give up. Ma Hao bowed to Feng Wu and ran off. Chu Yun was speechless. Wang Xiao didn't know what to say. The rest of the crowd was equally silent. The 4th was Wang Zhe. He replicated what his teammates did and happily ran off the stage. He seemed so relieved. To say everybody was astonished was an understatement. For players had thanked Feng Wu, and Lan Xiefeng, their captain, was the only player left. Dynasty team looked at Lan Xiefeng expectantly. They thought he would do the same. Chu Yun was furious. She had thought her team would win. She never thought they would lose. However, things had turned out quite the opposite. It was awful. Chu Yun looked at the girl on the stage. Feng Wu stood there in an indifferent manner, as if she deserved those players' thanks. Chu Yun couldn't believe it. She turned around and stared at Lan Xiefeng. If you give up, I'll make your life a living hell. Lan Xiefeng smiled bitterly. He only had 2 choices. He could let Feng Wu kill him, or Chu Yun would do it. Lan Xiefeng took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. He's here. The audience was so nervous, especially Yi Han, Sun Jingyu and the other students who knew Feng Wu well. I heard Lan Xiefeng is quite capable. He's good enough to go to the varsity team, but he didn't. Do you think he'll give up like the others? I hope so. They all hoped Lan Xiefeng would admit his defeat without fighting, however. They were taken by surprise. Lan Xiefeng walked up to Feng Wu and smiled bitterly. My savior, it's nice to see you again. Chapter 28:35. Competition, 10. His savior. Did you hear that? He called her his savior. Yi Han almost jumped to her feet. The last 4 players who had called Feng Wu that had all given up. Everybody stared at Lan Xiefeng with twinkling eyes. Feng Wu nodded with an expressionless face. Lan Xiefeng shook his head. I'm sorry about this. Ladies first. What? The audience let out surprised cries. Feng Wu was doomed. He didn't give up. Why did he want to fight her? Why wasn't he admitting defeat? What did I tell you? They did that on purpose. Wang Xiao smirked. The other 4 players gave up first to return the favor, then their captain will defeat Feng Wu. You celebrated too early. We all knew how this would end. Nobody could respond. They all thought Lan Xiefeng was much better than Feng Wu. Chen Ziyun was the only one who knew the truth, but he wouldn't say anything. Even if Feng Wu loses, it's still much better than before, isn't it? Sun Yu snapped. They could have defeated all 4 of us with 1 player. Feng Wu eliminated 4 players, right? He was right, but the team members still wished they could win. They didn't dare watch the battle. Because they didn't want to see their team lose. Right at that moment. Thump. There was a loud noise. Something heavy landed on the ground. It was a person. Lan Xiefeng has crossed the line. Feng Wu is a girl and his savior. How could he fling her away like that? Everybody looked up to see how badly Feng Wu had been injured. What they saw were the astonished looks on the faces of Chu Yun, Gong Sun Mu, and everybody else. Feng Wu was still on the stage. Her clothes were as neat as ever, and there wasn't a scratch on her. Who fell off the stage? Everybody looked in that direction. Somebody was lying on the ground. They saw his face. Lan Xiefeng. Captain Lan Xiefeng? He was thrown off the stage. It wasn't Feng Wu. What's going on? Am I seeing things? No, you saw correctly. Feng Wu kicked Lan Xiefeng, and he flew off the stage before falling on the ground. Everybody fell silent. They were trying to digest the information. Chu Yun jumped to her feet. That's not fair. She's cheating. She charged at Feng Wu and tried to grab her. Feng Wu smirked. If this woman wanted a battle, she would give her one. However, somebody blocked Chu Yun's way before Feng Wu could make a move. Gong Sun Mu shielded Feng Wu behind him and blocked Chu Yun's attack. Thump, thump, thump. Chapter 2836, Competition 11. Stop! A voice stopped the fighting. If you're so desperate to fight, why don't you go to Peace Grassland? Elder Wu suddenly showed up and scolded Gong Sun Mu and Chu Yun. Gong Sun Mu backed off silently. Chu Yun wouldn't have it. The students used to be so decent when I was here. They're cheating now. Elder Wu was displeased. He didn't like this woman, who had cheated on her husband before abandoning him. He asked, "Who cheated? How did they do it? What makes you think they cheated?" The three questions rendered Chu Yun speechless. She was certain Feng Wu had cheated. Otherwise, why would her students let her win? But how had Feng Wu cheated? She couldn't tell Elder Wu that Feng Wu had cheated by using her pretty face. That would sound ridiculous. Seeing that Chu Yun couldn't give an answer, Elder Wu frowned. If you don't have any evidence, you're slandering other people. Chu Yun, you're still the same after so many years. Chu Yun flinched a little. She couldn't help but feel intimidated by Elder Wu. Back when she taught in Imperial College, Elder Wu had been her direct superior. Elder Wu turned to Gong Sun Mu. "Is the competition over?" "Yes." Gong Sun Mu woke up from his reverie. He was still perplexed by the result. "Why haven't you made the announcement?" Elder Wu rolled his eyes at Gong Sun Mu. "That's right." Gong Sun Mu was reminded of what he needed to do. He cleared his throat and announced, "Imperial College has won the junior team competition." The audience was perplexed for a few moments before they realized what they had heard. "We won. I can't believe it. We won. I thought that one player was going to defeat all four of ours, but we won the competition. OMG." After the initial astonishment, the audience applauded. Only 1/3 of the seats were occupied, but the clapping was louder than a full house. The students were flushed with excitement. Someone stood at the back. It was Chiuziu. He never left. He headed for the exit after falling out with his team. He thought Feng Wu would give in, but she didn't. He thought Chen Ziyun would ask him to return, but Chen Ziyun didn't. He then hoped the other team members would say something, but that never happened either. Chiuziu hadn't wanted to leave like that. He doubled back before he had even gone a few hundred meters. He stood behind all the seats and wanted to watch his team lose. He wanted to see everybody blame Feng Wu. He wanted to see Chen Ziyun regret his decision that he had imagined how Feng Wu would beg him to come back, but reality slapped him in the face. Weren't all the students from the military academy supposed to be geniuses? Why did this happen? How could they be so weak? How could they lose? Chiuziu was so angry he almost fainted. Chapter 2837, Competition 12. Nobody paid any attention to Chiuziu. They were all looking at Feng Wu, their hero. She was already stunning, and now, she had won a great honor for Imperial College. Her popularity among the students soared to a new height. At the very least, all the spectators here were impressed. After they left the arena, they all shared the exciting news with their friends. At the same time, only a few people were left in the arena. They were the team members from both schools. There was also Chu Yun, Gong Sun Mu, and Elder Wu. Chu Yun's face was livid. She glared at Feng Wu so hard that she wanted to poke holes in the girl. Feng Wu wasn't intimidated at all. She even smiled at Chu Yun. Chu Yun felt like punching the wall. She turned to Gong Sun Mu. "Those were only the junior teams. The main competition will be tonight." Gong Sun Mu nodded indifferently. Chu Yun glared at her team. "Let's go." Chu Yun had planned to stay on campus with the team, but given what had happened, she would rather stay in a tent than stay here. She didn't stop until they reached the mountain at the back of the school. She glared at Lan Xiefeng. "Why did you let her win? You can tell me the real reason now." Lan Xiefeng clutched his chest and smiled bitterly. I didn't. How dare you lie to me? Chu Yun wanted to slap him. Lan Xiefeng closed his eyes and repeated, I didn't. She didn't need such a favor either. Lian Xiao looked at Chu Yun. Haven't you realized how capable our fairy is? Their fairy? Chu Yun was infuriated by the way Lian Xiao addressed the girl. She scolded him. What fairy? Use her proper name. Lian Xiao said, Feng Wu didn't just save our captain. She saved all of us. Lian Xiao nodded when he saw how shocked Chu Yun was. We were surrounded by spirit stone worms in the secret essence mine, and they were going to kill us. Feng Wu suddenly appeared, killed all the worms, and saved us. Chu Yun's face darkened. Lan Xiefeng had mentioned that before. Didn't you say it was Qingluan, the owner of the true phoenix blood, who saved you? Chu Yun frowned. Lian Xiao shook his head. That was what we thought at first. After all, we were told there were no spiritual kings among the Imperial College students. So, when we heard Qingluan's name, we thought she was our savior. We only knew it was Feng Wu when we saw her on the stage today, Lian Xiao said in a tender tone. She was his goddess. Chu Yun didn't like the look in Lian Xiao's eyes when he said Feng Wu's name. She turned to Lan Xiefeng and wanted to tell Lan Xiefeng to discipline his teammate. However, she saw the same look on Lan Xiefeng's face. Chu Yun was astonished. Chapter 2838, Competition 13. When she looked at the other 3 team members, she saw the same looks on their faces. You? Chu Yun was furious. Although these 5 students weren't the most capable in the military academy, they had great potential. She was so disappointed. Are you all in love with her? Chu Yun's face was livid. They didn't deny it. Chu Yun bellowed, How dare Feng Wu seduce my students? I'll kill her. Lan Xiefeng and the other 4 boys grew anxious. You can't do that. Lan Xiefeng blocked Chu Yun's way. Chu Yun was even angrier. If you all like her, she'll create a wedge between you. None of you can have her. Lan Xiefeng smiled bitterly. Why do you think we're good enough for her? Chu Yun said, What do you mean? Lian Xiao said, She's too good for us. Chu Yun said, What? The other 3 boys said, We fancy her the way one would fancy a fairy. We only want to admire her from afar. We've never wanted more than that. Chu Yun was dumbfounded. What's that supposed to mean? Admire her from afar? Who does she think she is? Lian Xiao looked into her eyes and said sternly, Miss Chu, there's something I've been meaning to tell you, and it's been bugging me and affecting my cultivation, so I'm going to say it. Chu Yun was perplexed. Lian Xiao said, I like her and consider her my goddess. That's my own choice and my business. I don't like it when other people tell me what to do. Chu Yun wanted to say something when Lian Xiao added, especially when they say it's for my own good. Chu Yun felt like she had been slapped. After being humiliated by Feng Wu, she was humiliated once more, and by her own students. Lan Xiefeng nodded. She's my goddess, and I won't let anyone criticize her. The other 3 boys stared at Chu Yun and nodded solemnly as well. Chu Yun was astonished. She couldn't understand what was happening. If she had been born in Feng Wu's previous life, she might have found these boys' behavior familiar. Fans would do anything to defend their idols. She said hurriedly, You're still too young to understand. I'm only trying to help you. Lan Xiefeng and the others looked at one another, and all seemed bored. Seeing that the boys wouldn't talk to her, Chu Yun got even angrier. No matter how much you like her, you shouldn't have let her win. This is such an important competition. Miss Chu Yun. Lan Xiefeng raised his voice. I don't know if you didn't hear us or you're pretending you didn't. Let me say it again, we didn't let her win. She didn't need that. She's very capable. She's at least a spiritual king. The 5 of us can't defeat her together, let alone in a 1v1 battle. She didn't attack us, and that was very kind of her. Do you understand now? Everybody fell silent after Lan Xiefeng gave that little speech. Chapter 2839, Competition, 14. Chu Yun stood there, dumbfounded. She had heard Lan Xiefeng earlier, but hadn't wanted to accept the truth. Now that Lan Xiefeng was forcing her to accept reality, she was furious. "What's going on?" someone interjected. It was a familiar voice. They turned around and saw that it was the varsity team. Sheng Changtian's face was livid. Behind him were his 4 teammates. They quickly walked over and stepped between Chu Yun and Lan Xiefeng. Sheng Changtian looked from Chu Yun to Lan Xiefeng, and his face turned dark. "What did you do?" His eyes were filled with fury. Chu Yun snorted and didn't answer. Sheng Changtian turned to Lan Xiefeng. "Answer me. How did you lose a battle that we should have won?" The 2 teams had arrived together. During the junior team competition, the varsity team went to walk around the campus, as if they were looking for something. They thought their junior team was so much better than Imperial College's and would definitely win the competition. However, they received the news when they were still walking around. The military academy's team had lost the competition. What? Sheng Changtian couldn't believe his ears, and had come back in a hurry. "You really lost then?" Sheng Changtian glared at Lan Xiefeng. Lan Xiefeng found Sheng Changtian scarier than Chu Yun. So, he nodded silently. Sheng Changtian said, "Why did you lose?" Lan Xiefeng said, "She's better than me." Sheng Changtian frowned and stared at him. Lan Xiefeng nodded. "Feng Wu is a spiritual king." Sheng Changtian asked, "Who's that?" He had never heard of that name before. He turned around and looked at his 4 teammates. LV Haobei, Lu Qinghe, Tang Mingjiang and Sun Jinyuan looked at one another before turning to Sheng Changtian and shaking their heads. They didn't know who that was either. Lan Xiefeng smiled bitterly. If Feng Wu hadn't saved them, they wouldn't have noticed her either. "She's really good," said Lan Xiefeng. "She may be even better than Captain Sheng." LV Haobei laughed. He glanced at Lan Xiefeng. "Have you forgotten which team you're in? No wonder Ms. Chu is so angry." Lan Xiefeng didn't know what to say. He had seen Feng Wu fight. Anyone who did would know how terrifying her swordplay was. "What technique does she use?" Sheng Changtian asked. Lan Xiefeng still remembered the elegant way Feng Wu moved, and he blurted out, "She doesn't have any technique. She only uses one stance from the beginning to the end." He was telling the truth, but the proud Sheng Changtian wouldn't believe him. "That's enough. She's just a spiritual king, and you're making her sound more than she actually is." Sheng Changtian and the others thought Lan Xiefeng only said that because he wasn't a spiritual king himself and didn't know what spiritual kings were like. They thought he would find all spiritual kings unfathomably powerful. Chapter 2840, Competition, 15. Sheng Changtian said to Chu Yun, "It's just a battle between the junior teams. It's no big deal. We can defeat them in the varsity team battle." Chu Yun thought the same and was relieved. "Let's get something to eat." While the group from the military academy calmed down, Imperial College was still feeling overjoyed. In the arena, Feng Wu, you're amazing." Chu Chu ran around Feng Wu like a puppy. He was so thrilled that he couldn't stop smiling. "Feng Wu, how can you be so amazing? They must have all been stunned by your beauty." Chu Chu almost couldn't form a coherent sentence. The other team members were more sensible than he was and knew it had nothing to do with Feng Wu's beauty. "Did you meet them before?" Sun Yu asked curiously. Feng Wu nodded. Sun Yu said, "They called you their savior. Did you help them?" Feng Wu nodded. "Yup." Sun Yu asked, "When? Why don't we know about it?" Feng Wu said, "It was in the secret essence mine." She then added, "They were surrounded by spirit stone worms and were almost killed. I killed the worms for them and gave them a paper crane." "You really saved their lives." Chu Chu stared at her in amazement. "Would they have died if you hadn't helped them?" Feng Wu said, "Yes, they would have." Chu Chu said, "Are you saying you can defeat all 5 of them?" Feng Wu said matter-of-factly, "Yes, I can." She sounded very serious. and the crowd was speechless. It was only then that they realized how capable she was. "What's your level now?" Chu Chu asked tentatively. "I'm a spiritual king." Feng Wu didn't try to hide it. "SSSS." Everyone sucked in their breaths. A spiritual king. Feng Wu was a spiritual king. If that was the case, of course she could defeat Lan Xiefeng and his 4 teammates. OMG! Feng Wu, are you even human? How long has it been since you joined the academy? You've only just risen to Class B. Didn't you just join our team? You're already one of the 2 spiritual kings we have. That is to say, you're the 2nd best player on the team. Her teammates were shocked by this piece of information. However, they were soon ecstatic. Chu Chu couldn't control his excitement, and said whatever was on his mind. "Do you remember how Qiu Ziyu left us at a critical moment?" The others had forgotten about Qiu Ziyu until Chu Chu brought him up. What they didn't know was that Qiu Ziyu was standing behind them in the doorway. He was trying to figure out how to quietly sneak back in and beg Chen Ziyun to forgive him. However, he heard his name before he stepped into the room. He didn't know if he should walk in or leave, so he just stood there. He wanted to know what his teammates thought of him. Everybody was busy condemning him at that moment. "Do you remember how Feng Wu suppressed Qiu Ziyu? That means Qiu Ziyu knows how capable Feng Wu is." Sun Yu was the first to realize what had happened. Chapter 2841, Competition, 16. Chu Chu said, "Yes, I remember that. I thought Qiu Ziyu didn't want to fight a girl, but I realize now that he's not generous like that. If he could, he would have hit Feng Wu back." Sun Yu said, "That's right. That means Qiu Ziyu already knew then that Feng Wu is better than he is. However, he tried to stop Feng Wu from participating in the competition." Everybody tried to recall what happened. Sun Yu was right. Qiu Ziyu tried to use the incomplete registration form as an excuse, but Chen Ziyun exposed his little trick. Qiu Ziyu then tried to exclude Feng Wu by saying she didn't know the rules. All in all, he hadn't wanted Feng Wu in the competition. Sun Yu ground his teeth. Doesn't he know what we're facing? The military academy has been winning all this time. Does Qiu Ziyu have no idea how frustrated we've been? Chu Chu said, "I'm sure he does." Sun Yu said, "If he does, why did he try to stop Feng Wu from fighting in the competition?" Chu Chu asked, "Why?" Sun Yu said, "Because he's jealous. He knew if he let Feng Wu compete, she would demonstrate her power, and everybody would be amazed. As the captain, he would feel humiliated. He might even lose his position. That's why he tried to stop Feng Wu." Qiu Ziyu broke into a cold sweat when he heard this. How could they have guessed it so correctly? That was exactly what he had been thinking. Hearing Sun Yu and Chu Chu's conversation, Wang Xiao felt his cheeks burn. He didn't dare look at Feng Wu. Meanwhile, the other team members started criticizing Qiu Ziyu as well. How could Qiu Ziyu do that? Did he think he could suppress a genius like Feng Wu? More importantly, doesn't he know what we're facing now? All he cares about is his personal gain. He isn't a team player at all. He even blackmailed us before the competition and forced us to fight 5 opponents with 4 players. If we didn't have Feng Wu, we would be crying our eyes out now. Where's Qiu Ziyu? I want to punch him in the face. Qiu Ziyu was speechless. Wang Xiao, who had been on Qiu Ziyu's side, was speechless as well. He didn't dare look in Feng Wu's direction and wanted to stay unnoticed. Qiu Ziyu took a step back and hid outside. He didn't dare look up, fearing that the others would beat him if they caught him. The subject soon changed after they were done criticizing Qiu Ziyu. Wait, we now have 2 spiritual kings on our team, right? Sun Yu was thrilled. Ziyun and Feng Wu are both spiritual kings. Everybody nodded. Sun Yu said, "We were feeling so defeated before because they have 3 spiritual kings while we had 0, but we have 2 now." Everybody was reminded of the good news. That was right. Sun Yu's eyes were twinkling. Right? We have 2 now. 2v3, I think we have a chance. Chapter 2842, Competition, 17. Holy crap! You're getting me excited. Wang Mian, a member of the varsity team, patted Sun Yu on the shoulder. We may actually win. Everybody was excited. Their original plan had been to give all they could to win the junior team competition. Now that they had won, they became hopeful about the varsity team competition. Let's think about it, Sun Yu said excitedly. We've defeated their junior team and won the right to determine the order of their players. How should we arrange them so that we can win the 2v3 competition? Everybody was lost in thought. Feng Wu suddenly said, "Who told you it's 2v3? Her question made everybody jump. Chu Chu was terrified. Feng Wu, you can't back out now. You're going to give us a heart attack. The others were as frightened as Chu Chu was. They were so worried that she wouldn't take part. Feng Wu chuckled when she saw their behavior. I didn't mean that. Chu Chu asked, then why did you say it wouldn't be 2v3? They have 3 spiritual kings. Feng Wu said, I mean it's 3v3. What? Everybody was shocked. Sun Yu asked, is there a hidden spiritual king among us? Tell us. Feng Wu grinned at him. It's you. Sun Yu was speechless. Feng Wu only smiled. Sun Yu rolled his eyes at her. Xiao Wu, please don't make fun of me. I'd love to be a spiritual king, but I'm not. Do you know how hard Ziyun worked to become one? Do you know how long it took? He gave everything he got. It still took him 3 years to become a spiritual king. As for me, Sun Yu pointed at himself and smiled bitterly. It'll take me at least 3 more years to become a spiritual king if I'm ever going to become one at all. Maybe I'll never get there. A level 9 spiritual lord sounds so close to a spiritual king, but the actual gap is enormous. Feng Wu only smiled at him. The look gave Sun Yu the creeps, and he wondered what Feng Wu was getting at. Chen Ziyun came in and threw an arm over Sun Yu's shoulders. If Xiao Wu says you're a spiritual king, you're going to be a spiritual king. Sun Yu didn't understand. He looked at Chen Ziyun in bewilderment. Feng Wu took a small vial from her sleeve and handed it to Sun Yu. Sun Yu took it, still confused. Before he had time to react, Chen Ziyun removed the cap and poured the content into Sun Yu's mouth. Sun Yu was forced to drink it. What's this taste? Sun Yu frowned. That's awful. Why does it taste like piss? Feng Wu wanted to laugh. The liquid had been brewed in that pit, so the taste was unavoidable. It's the taste of a spiritual king. Feng Wu smiled mysteriously. Sun Yu didn't believe her. The others also thought she was joking, and no one took her seriously. I'm starving, Feng Wu said. Xiao Wu, let's get something to eat. Chapter 2843, Competition, 18. Feng Wu was accepted by the team after the competition, and they began to think of her as a part of the team. Xiao Wu will gain at least 10,000 points from this competition. You should treat us to lunch. Chu Chu suggested. 10,000 points? Feng Wu was perplexed. I didn't know we could gain points. Chu Chu said, of course we can. The school will reward us for winning a competition like this. You're the main reason for our victory, so you'll get at least 10,000. Feng Wu asked, what can I do with these points? Chu Chu said, there are so many options. You can use it on cultivation, weapons, techniques, and even pay for a meal at Star Cloud Tower. Feng Wu asked, what Star Cloud Tower? Chu Chu stared at her. Seriously? You don't know what Star Cloud Tower is? Haven't you been there before? Sun Yu couldn't feel the effect of the spirit wine even though his spiritual essence was going through a drastic change inside him. He still thought Feng Wu was making fun of him and had completely forgotten about what he had drunk. He patted Chu Chu on the shoulder and said grumpily, it's only been a couple of months since Xiao Wu joined our school, and she only came to our team a few days ago. It's not surprising that she doesn't know what Star Cloud Tower is. That place is open to Class A students only. He then turned to Feng Wu. Star Cloud Tower is a special place. The food ingredients there all come from magical beasts. They're very rich in spiritual essence and can greatly benefit your cultivation. Only tutors and Class A students are qualified to eat there. Feng Wu said, if Class A students can go there all the time, you wouldn't be so excited. Sun Yu chuckled. Xiao Wu, you're so clever. That's right. We wouldn't find it so rare if we could go there whenever we want. However, the mysterious chef in Star Cloud Tower will only prepare one feast every month. The food will be very peculiar, but it'll do wonders for your cultivation. You'll suddenly feel enlightened about things that baffled you before. Everybody says the mysterious chef is an extremely capable cultivator, but no one has ever seen the person. Feng Wu said, sounds like a floor-sweeping monk. Sun Yu was confused. Sweeping the floor? That's not what the chef does. He disappears as soon as he finishes cooking. Feng Wu cleared her throat. Chen Ziyun said, I heard the mysterious chef is Master Linghu's personal cook. He takes a day off every month to cook here, and waits for the right cultivator to come along. Master Linghu? Feng Wu's eyes lit up. The others screamed. Master Linghu? Are you talking about the Master Linghu? Chen Ziyun nodded. I only heard Mr. Gong's son mention it once. He wouldn't say more and only said we should spend our points on that meal whenever we can, or we would regret it for the rest of our lives. Is that so? That meal is rarer than in legend. Feng Wu said, let's go. We'll book seats for today. Everyone stared at Feng Wu in astonishment. A booking? That wasn't an option. Chen Ziyun smiled bitterly. Let's go then. Maybe we'll get lucky. Chapter 2844, Competition, 19. They quickly headed for Star Cloud Tower. The tower had 2 levels. The ground floor was the lobby filled with dozens of tables. It wasn't difficult to get a seat here. There was only one table on the second floor. It was reserved for the mysterious chef who only came here once a month. Although Star Cloud Tower was in Imperial College, the owner wasn't a member of the college and didn't follow the college's commands. However, the tower had a good relationship with Imperial College. The owner was called Ji Xingyun, who was a beautiful woman in her 20s. She greeted Chen Ziyun and his team with a smile. Captain Chen, to what do I owe this honor? Ji Xingyun got along well with Chen Ziyun and spoke to him in a casual manner. Chen Ziyun came here every month for a seat on the second floor and was quite familiar with this place. Miss Ji, you have to reserve a good number for us. Chen Ziyun chuckled. Ji Xingyun said, you don't have to tell me that. I always give you a good number, but you really don't have much luck. You've only eaten that meal once, right? Chen Ziyun rubbed his nose with an awkward smile. Feng Wu observed Ji Xingyun curiously. Ji Xingyun also noticed the stunning girl in the red dress. Her eyes lit up and she beamed at Feng Wu. What a pretty girl. You're the legendary Feng Wu, aren't you? Feng Wu greeted her politely. She liked this young woman with a bright smile. Do you know her? Chen Ziyun asked curiously. I do know about things outside this tower, all right? The whole school has been talking about your competition today. We might not have known Feng Wu's name before, but after that glorious battle, everybody knows her name. The glorious battle? Chen Ziyun rubbed his chin. Ji Xingyun said, she saved the whole team at a critical moment and won back your dignity. If that's not a glorious battle, what is? She couldn't say enough good things about Feng Wu. She genuinely liked this stunning teenage girl. Ji Xingyun then handed a number plate to Chen Ziyun. The result will come out in 5 minutes. Take this. I think this should give you a bit more luck. She then lowered her voice. Master Taiha may be a little sensitive to this number. Master Taiha was the name of the chef. His rule was only the chosen one could eat his food. That was why he only came here once a month and would only cook one table full of food. Rather than choose the highest bidder or the most talented, he would give the opportunity to the person chosen by fate. Every team in the waiting area would have a number plate. Master Taiha would randomly pick one after he finished cooking. The team with that number would eat the food. Master Taiha was still cooking now, and the result would be announced in 5 minutes. Feng Wu and her team saw countless people in the waiting area. At least hundreds of teams were trying their luck. they heard footsteps at the door. Chapter 28:45. Competition 20. The footsteps sounded familiar. Feng Wu involuntarily turned her head and saw some familiar faces. Chu Yun led the way, and was followed by members of her varsity and junior teams, led by Sheng Changtian and Lan Xiefeng respectively. What a coincidence! Sun Yu followed Feng Wu's eyes and almost exploded when he saw those people. Why are they here? Sun Yu said angrily. What? Everybody else turned their heads. They all rose to their feet when they saw who those people were. Chu Yun noticed them when they all stood up. The two sides didn't really speak to each other, and Chu Yun was going to ignore Dynasty Team as well. However, Sheng Changtian walked toward his opponents. His 4 team members seemed equally interested and followed him. Chu Yun frowned but couldn't stop them, so she had to follow her students. Soon, Sheng Changtian stopped in front of Chen Ziyun and stared at the latter. Chen Ziyun wasn't intimidated. He stood ramrod straight and stared back at Sheng Changtian. The two sides were at daggers drawn. Sheng Changtian suddenly raised his eyebrow and smiled. Ziyun, it's been a while. Chen Ziyun only stared at him and didn't say a word. Sheng Changtian was still smiling, as if he was confident enough to rule the world. He said, I'm 1 year older than you, but for a while, you were always 1 step ahead of me. You joined Imperial College 1 year before I went to the military academy. You were always 1 level higher than I was. I was a level 7 spiritual lord when you were at level 8. You were at level 9 when I became a level 8. You were always a little quicker than me, and I thought I would be slower than you for the rest of my life. I never thought you would be stuck at the spiritual lord stage for so long. Finally, I'm 1 step ahead of you. I'll be a step ahead of you all the time. Chen Ziyun, you'll always be inferior to me. Sheng Changtian smiled at Chen Ziyun. You'll feel the same jealousy I did for the rest of your life. Chen Ziyun stared at Sheng Changtian without saying a word. Feng Wu glanced at Sheng Changtian and said indifferently, You must be blind. She didn't try to be polite. Given Sheng Changtian's status, not many people dared to speak to him like that. He was a little taken aback. He then saw the girl in a red dress to the right of Chen Ziyun. What a stunning girl. Are you Miss Feng Wu? Sheng Changtian was a shrewd man who always kept a poker face. People around him always felt a chill run down their spines. Chen Ziyun stepped forward and stared at Sheng Changtian. This is between us. Don't get other people involved. Sheng Changtian chuckled. Is it? Chen Ziyun reminded him. You can't afford to offend her. Chen Ziyun laughed. Chen Ziyun, you don't know me at all. Chapter 28:46. Competition 21. Chen Ziyun looked at Sheng Changtian and suddenly wanted to laugh. Spiritual kings were incredible, but Sheng Changtian was nothing compared with the crown prince. How dare he try to flirt with Feng Wu? What was that? Sheng Changtian wasn't affected. He put on a look that he thought looked condescending. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. The man seemed to be trying to mimic Jun Linyuan. She couldn't help but get that feeling. Feng Wu glared back at him. Are you blind? Sheng Changtian didn't know what to say. Ever since he made a name for himself in the military academy, no one had ever treated him like this. Before Sheng Changtian could say anything, Lu Qinghe frowned. Young lady, do you know who you're talking to? Feng Wu glanced at him. A blind man. Ahem. Ji Xingyun couldn't help but burst out laughing. Sheng Changtian glanced at her, so she cleared her throat. Everybody, if you're here to eat, there's still a table over there. Please take your seats. Chu Yun knew Ji Xingyun, so she said, We'll wait for Master Taihe. I see. Ji Xingyun nodded. In that case, you'll have to get in line. Chu Yun knew the rules, so they took the number plate and sat down. Sheng Changtian kept glancing at Feng Wu. Lu Qinghe looked at Sheng Changtian and whispered, Boss, do you have a crush on the girl? Sheng Changtian didn't deny it. He nodded and said, She's good-looking enough for me. He didn't try to keep his voice down, so everybody heard him. Even Feng Wu's team heard him. Chen Ziyun couldn't believe it. Feng Wu. Did he just say Feng Wu was good enough for him? You must be dreaming. You've got to be as great as the crown prince to go out with Xiao Wu. Chen Ziyun rolled his eyes at him. Sheng Changtian found Chen Ziyun's words idiotic. The crown prince? As in Jun Linyuan? That was very bold of Chen Ziyun, bringing him up like that. Sheng Changtian smirked. You must have a death wish. Chen Ziyun rolled his eyes. Death wish? This man didn't know what he was talking about. You're going to get yourself killed, and you won't know how it happens, Chen Ziyun said provocatively. Sheng Changtan said, I'll say the same to you, but I know how you're going to die. His Royal Highness will kill you. Feng Wu found their conversation very boring. Sheng Changtian was displeased when he saw that Chen Ziyun couldn't be bothered to talk to him. He had compared himself with Chen Ziyun since they were little. Before, his parents used to motivate him by using Chen Ziyun's achievements. Later, when Sheng Changtian became stronger, he felt he could get back at Chen Ziyun. Defeating Chen Ziyun was his fundamental motivation for getting stronger. That was why he cut down Imperial College's flag after the military academy's team won the competition the year before. He had thought it was already kind enough of him not to stomp on the flag. He couldn't stand the fact that Chen Ziyun wouldn't even look at him. He glanced at Chen Ziyun and smirked. Do you know about His Royal Highness's relationship with the military academy? Chen Ziyun looked rather bored. Chapter 2847, Competition, 22. I don't know about the relationship between the military academy and His Royal Highness. I only know that he's very close to our Imperial College. Sheng Changtian smirked. Guess what? His Royal Highness is our school's honorary chief now. Chen Ziyun said, What? Sheng Changtian said, One more thing. His Royal Highness is also the military team's chief commander. Northern Feng General was undoubtedly the most senior general in Peace Grassland. Apart from hundreds of thousands of soldiers, he also led 2 special troops. Both troops consisted of the most capable warriors. They had to be at least spiritual kings. During the battle against the Dongsang Kingdom, all participants would fight opponents of their own levels. That rule had been agreed upon by both countries. Otherwise, one advanced cultivator could annihilate a group of ordinary soldiers. That wouldn't be fair. The 2 special troops were the military team and dynasty team. Dynasty team's current chief commander was the mysterious elder of Imperial College, the one that no one had seen before. Jun Linyuan was the military team's chief commander now. It was Chen Ziyun's first time hearing about it, and he was shocked. His Royal Highness graduated from Imperial College. Sheng Changtian chuckled. Given His Royal Highness's level, do you think he'll be confined by where he graduated from? He's the crown prince and our future emperor. He can do whatever he wants. He then gave Chen Ziyun an arrogant glance. Do you know His Royal Highness is recruiting guards? Chen Ziyun said, Is that so? Why haven't I heard about it? Sheng Changtian gloated. Only spiritual kings will be considered as candidates. You're not qualified. Chen Ziyun said, I don't think being a spiritual king will be enough to be His Royal Highness's guard. Sheng Changtian said, They're only recruiting junior guards. Do you think you'll start as the crown prince's personal guard? You'll have to go through a lot of training and multiple selections before you can become a senior guard. Only then will you be close to His Royal Highness. This process will take at least 10 years. Sheng Changtian clenched his fists. I'm sure I'll pass the test. Chen Ziyun looked from Sheng Changtian to Feng Wu. The look gave Feng Wu the creeps. What? She snapped. Chen Ziyun's eyes suddenly lit up. He realized that if he used Feng Wu as his shortcut, he might soon exceed Sheng Changtian. Sheng Changtian was displeased when he saw that Chen Ziyun wasn't discouraged. He was showing off, but Chen Ziyun wasn't jealous. Instead, it gave Chen Ziyun some motivation. Chen Ziyun, don't you have something to say? Sheng Changtian stared at his archenemy. Chen Ziyun said, What? About His Royal Highness's guard? Of course, I want to become one. Sheng Changtian glanced at Chen Ziyun and found his claim ridiculous. After getting satisfaction from showing off in front of Chen Ziyun, Sheng Changtian couldn't be bothered to speak to him anymore. He stared at Feng Wu but was lost in thought. Chapter 2848, Competition, 23. He thought, did I speak too much? I'm supposed to be an impressive cultivator. His Royal Highness never says too much, and it only makes him more mysterious. Hence, Sheng Changtian stopped talking, but he didn't look away from Feng Wu. She was so pretty, and he found her very attractive. Sheng Changtian let his imagination run wild. He even thought about marrying Feng Wu and having children and grandchildren with her. The idea only excited him more. She's the one. Sheng Changtian made up his mind. Meanwhile, Feng Wu saw Chu Yun walking to the back of the tower. Feng Wu frowned and wondered where she was going. She followed Chu Yun. She then saw Chu Yun knocking on a door. That door normally wouldn't open, but it was open now. Feng Wu also noticed that there was a rhythm to Chu Yun's knocking, 3 long taps followed by a short one. Chu Yun then waved her number plate at the person who answered the door. Feng Wu recognized the person. It was Yuan Bao, the little monk who served Master Ling Hu. Yuan Bao had visited Feng Wu before and led her to Master Ling Hu. What was he doing here? Right? Feng Wu remembered that just like Yuan Bao, Master Taihe was from the Wandering Temple. It wasn't surprising that Yuan Bao was here. What surprised Feng Wu was that Chu Yun was cheating. She couldn't stand it. Feng Wu was going to try her luck this time. Seeing that Chu Yun was coming toward her, Feng Wu hid behind some shelves. Chu Yun was probably feeling guilty about her conduct, so she left as soon as possible. Feng Wu smiled when she saw Chu Yun leave. If her opponent decided to try using her connections instead of luck, she would do the same. She knocked on the door with the same rhythm. Yuan Bao lost his patience. He shouted from the other side, "Stop this! Haven't I told you already? I'll let you eat the food for that favor we owe you. Why are you?" He opened the door and saw someone he didn't expect. Feng Wu smiled at him. "Sister Feng Wu, I missed you so much." Chu Yun came back with a gloating smile on her face. Chu Chu happened to lead Gong Sun Mu into the room at that moment. Since the other team had Chu Yun, Dynasty team decided they should have a tutor here as well. However, no one thought about Zhuo Qingwan. Chen Ziyun and his team had been ignoring Zhuo Qingwan since the incident in the secret essence mine. Of course, the other students didn't know what had happened and still thought of her as a vice chief. When Gong Sun Mu saw Chu Yun, he frowned and asked, "Did you go to the back room just then?" Chu Yun glanced at him. "What? Do I have to ask for your permission to go to the bathroom?" Gong Sun Mu looked away and ignored her. Chu Chu said, "We're going to try our luck today. With Xiao Wu here, maybe Master Taihe will pick us." Gong Sun Mu shook his head and asked Ji Xingyun, "How many number plates are there today?" 76, Ji Xingyun said briskly. Chapter 2849, Competition, 24. Gong Sun Mu looked at this team. "Are you going to try your luck? That's 1 in 76. The others shrugged. Gong Sun Mu said, "Today is your competition. As your vice chief, I should give you a gift for this special occasion. Master Taihe owes me a big favor. He has agreed to cook me a meal to return that favor. I'm going to use that opportunity today." Did that mean that they didn't need to try their luck today? Dynasty team cheered loudly. The military team was displeased. However, Chu Yun smiled at Gong Sun Mu. "Aren't you a little too late to do that?" "What do you mean?" Gong Sun Mu stared at Chu Yun. Chu Yun only went on smiling. "Have you used it already?" Gong Sun Mu's eyes widened. Chu Yun still wouldn't say anything. Gong Sun Mu's face went livid. "You've crossed the line. I saved him, not you." Chu Yun shrugged. "So? I've used it already." Gong Sun Mu shouted, "You!" Both teams were watching them. They seemed to realize what was going on. Master Taihe seemed to owe the two of them a favor, but Chu Yun used that opportunity for herself. She glanced at Gong Sun Mu, knowing that there was nothing he could do. Sheng Changtian and his team members gloated and kept giving Dynasty team provoking looks. Qin Ziyun and his team were furious. Even someone as mild-mannered as Gong Sun Mu was furious. Chen Ziyun stared at Ji Xingyun. Does that mean our number plate is useless? Ji Xingyun hadn't seen that coming either. It was very rare for Master Taihe to owe other people a favor. This was the second time he had used his feast to return a favor. Ji Xingyun gave Chen Ziyun an apologetic look. I'm so sorry. I didn't know this was going to happen. Other Imperial College students waiting in the room were infuriated as well. They had all planned to give the opportunity to Dynasty team if they were chosen. Maybe that one meal would increase their cultivation level. Of the 76 numbers, only one number belonged to their opponent, but they still lost. They couldn't accept it. Sheng Changtian was elated to see the angry faces. He smiled at Chen Ziyun. Chen Ziyun, you've lost to me in every possible way. You're not a spiritual king and you can't eat Master Taihe's food even when we're in your territory. Chen Ziyun ground his teeth in frustration. Sheng Changtian was right. They were in his territory, but he had lost. Feng Wu glanced at Sheng Changtian. Are you really that blind? My captain is a spiritual king. Can't you see that? What? A spiritual king. To detect another person's cultivation level, one needed to activate their spiritual essence. Chapter 2850, Competition, 25. Sheng Changtian never thought much of Chen Ziyun, so he had never checked the latter's cultivation level. He finally did so. Feng Wu was right. You're a spiritual king too. Sheng Changtian stared at Chen Ziyun. Chen Ziyun glanced at him. Why are you so surprised? Sheng Changtian couldn't believe Chen Ziyun's tone. However, Sheng Changtian managed to pull himself together almost immediately. He glanced at Chen Ziyun and smirked. You should have been a spiritual king a long time ago. What took you so long? Why are you so proud? Chen Ziyun didn't like his tone at all. Sheng Changtian shook his head. Your team only has one spiritual king. That won't bother us. Feng Wu stared at Sheng Changtian and wondered if something was wrong with his eyes. Right, I forgot. Sheng Changtian smacked his forehead. Little Feng Wu here is a spiritual king too. How impressive. You don't get to call her little Feng Wu. All 8 members of the Dynasty team shouted at him in unison. Their stern tone almost made Sheng Changtian jump. He frowned at them. It almost felt like they were defending their own sister. Since when were the students of Imperial College so united? The military team was surprised when they heard that both Chen Ziyun and Feng Wu were spiritual kings, but they weren't surprised for long. They had at least 3 spiritual kings, and believed that they would win. Those 2 spiritual kings would only affect the process but not the result. However, the other students were astonished. What? Their team had 2 spiritual kings now. Did that mean they still had a chance? The news soon spread. All the students of Imperial College were thrilled. Holy crap! Feng Wu is a spiritual king. OMG! I can't believe she was in the same class as me a few days ago. My classmate is a spiritual king. I treated her as my enemy. I said things behind her back. I did those things to a spiritual king. I'm doomed. Class E students cheered at the top of their lungs. So did the students of classes D, C, and B. As for Class A, the students were used to Feng Wu's unbelievable rate of progress. They just wished she could graduate as soon as possible and stop shocking ordinary people on a daily basis. They used to think they were elites and geniuses, but when Feng Wu arrived, they felt like idiots. They didn't find it surprising that Chen Ziyun was a spiritual king. Unlike Feng Wu, Chen Ziyun made progress at the same speed as other ordinary students. However, does that mean we have a chance to defeat the military academy? That's right. 2 against 3. I think we have a chance. Let's watch the competition. I want to cheer for our team. Chapter 2851, Competition, 26. Ji Xingyun came out at that moment. Sheng Changtian sneered at Chen Ziyun before turning to his team members. Let's get ready to go in. Great! The others were all excited. They were in Imperial College. However, they had taken Dynasty Team's opportunity in their territory. It felt so satisfying. They couldn't begin to describe that feeling. Let's eat. LV Haobei and the others all gloated. Chu Yun gave Gong Sun Mu a provoking glance and felt utterly fantastic. All the Imperial College students on the ground floor had stopped eating. Their faces turned livid. They all felt humiliated. This was so frustrating. They all wanted Ji Xingyun to tell them that Chen Ziyun's team could go in. Unfortunately, that wasn't going to happen. Chu Yun had told everybody she had asked the master to return the favor. This is unbelievable. Chen Ziyun ground his teeth and clenched his fists. You're going to pay for this. He glared at Sheng Changtian. Sheng Changtian laughed. We're going to pay? You don't need to show us the way. I know where it is. Chu Yun smiled at Ji Xingyun. Ji Xingyun felt conflicted. She raised an arm and blocked Chu Yun's way. What? Chu Yun frowned at Ji Xingyun. Ji Xingyun smiled. I'm sorry, but you can't go in. Chu Yun smirked. Then who can? Ji Xingyun pointed at Feng Wu. Them. What? The entire room fell silent. For a moment, everybody forgot to breathe. After that, they sucked in their breaths. Chen Ziyun was the first to react. Us? Chen Ziyun pointed at himself. Are you sure? Ji Xingyun nodded with a smile. Yes, that's what I've been told. Chu Yun finally realized what was happening and stared at Ji Xingyun. No, that's not possible. Ji Xingyun shrugged. That's the truth. Chu Yun glared at her. That can't be. You're lying. This can't be happening. That's the only explanation. Ji Xingyun frowned. She was very easygoing, but as the owner of Star Cloud Tower, she had her temper as well. She stared at Chu Yun. You don't get to talk to me in that tone. You're not welcome here. Get out. Ji Xingyun knew what Chu Yun had done and found her behavior despicable. She had no problem scolding this woman. Chu Yun stared at Ji Xingyun in disbelief. How dare the owner of a restaurant shout at her? She was the assistant dean of the military academy. Ji Xingyun smirked. I don't care what your job title is in the military academy. It means nothing here in Imperial College. If you want to give me a speech, become the vice chief of Imperial College first. Chapter 2852, Competition, 27. Chu Yun was so frustrated that she shook from head to toe. Feng Wu clapped her hands. That was very well said. She liked Sister Xingyun a lot. Fine. Chu Yun sneered at Gong Sun Mu. That's so nice of Imperial College. You cheated in the competition, and you didn't even try to hide it. Gong Sun Mu, is that how you teach your students? If you won't discipline her, I'll do it for you. Chu Yun was going to take action when she heard an impatient voice. Yuan Bao came into the room. The little boy walked in with a big frown on his face. He was annoyed. Master Ling, who always stayed in the temple, and Yuan Bao represented him in the secular world. It wasn't common knowledge, but the tutors of both schools knew it. Chu Yin and Gong Sun Mu were both surprised by Yuan Bao's arrival. They both lowered their heads but stole glances at the boy. Chen Ziyun and the other students weren't senior enough to know who Yuan Bao was, so they were still eyeing him curiously. Gong Sun Mu and Chu Yun scolded them. Lower your heads. What? Chen Ziyun and the other students were all confused. Gong Sun Mu was seldom so stern, and it only showed how much the boy had startled him. They all did as they were told and lowered their heads. Both Chen Ziyun and Sheng Changtian's teams did so. Yuan Bao walked up to them. His words were directed to Chu Yun only. Shut up. How dare you raise your voice here? Yuan Bao's tone was very domineering. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She only remembered Yuan Bao as the lovely shy boy who always enjoyed good food. She almost couldn't recognize him now. She then looked at Chu Yun. The woman lowered her head and let Yuan Bao scold her. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She realized once more how much ordinary people respected Master Ling Hu. Even the arrogant Chu Yun bowed her head to Master Ling Hu's little messenger. Yuan Bao stared at Chu Yun. I've decided to give the meal to Sister Xiaowu. Do you have a problem with that? Sister Xiaowu? Was he referring to? Everybody glanced at Feng Wu. Only Chu Yun could describe how she felt. Her face turned scarlet red at the boy's words, but she still had to squeeze out a smile. No, of course not. Yuan Bao snorted, threw a dirty look at Chu Yun, then ran to Feng Wu's side. He looked up at her with eyes filled with admiration. He tugged at her clothes. Sister Xiaowu, the master needs me, so I'll be off. I've saved the table for you. No other team can touch it. Feng Wu rubbed his little bald head. That's great. Thank you, my dear Yuan Bao. You're welcome. Unlike his harsh tone when he scolded Chu Yun, Yuan Bao was a lovely boy when he spoke to Feng Wu. He gave Feng Wu one last look before he reluctantly took his leave. Once he was gone, the others raised their heads and looked at one another in wonder. Chapter 2853, Competition, 28. Chen Ziyun wanted to ask questions, but he chuckled instead when he sensed Sheng Changtian's stare. Xiaowu, let's go inside. The meal belongs to us now. Chen Ziyun glanced at Sheng Changtian in satisfaction. Apparently that favor wasn't as useful as it seemed. Sheng Changtian recalled how he had shown off earlier, only to be stopped at the door. His face turned bright red. Of course, the greatest humiliation was felt by Chu Yun. She stared at Feng Wu from behind, and there was a malicious look in her eyes. She hated Feng Wu. However, she feared the girl as well. What was Feng Wu's relationship with Yuan Bao? It wouldn't be too complicated if she were just Yuan Bao's good friend. However, things would be very complicated if Master Ling Hu was involved. Feng Wu and her team smiled at Chu Yun when they walked past her. Chu Yun was astonished. They were provoking her. And there were also Imperial College students around them. They looked at the military college students as if they were a joke. They pointed at the military team and laughed among themselves. As if that wasn't enough, they also stole glances at the team. They made it so obvious. Chu Yun and Sheng Changtian didn't react to their behavior, but the rest of the team wasn't as unperturbed as they were. They flushed red. Chu Yun sneered at Gong Sun Mu. Do you think you've won? Do I have to remind you that we're in the middle of a competition? This meal means nothing. I was going to make it easy for you, but now, you'll be sorry for what you've done. Let's go. Chu Yun led the team away after she threatened the others. Her words affected the students, but not as much as before. Imperial College had won the junior team competition and the meal. Both times, it happened because of Feng Wu. Her team doted on her now. Everybody loved her. Needless to say, Master Taiha's dishes were delicious and effective. After they ate, Feng Wu told them to go to the arena immediately. Everybody was perplexed. Sun Yu said, we still have 2 hours before the final competition. Why don't we go back to our own arena and take a break? No. Feng Wu was very adamant. To the arena. No. Everybody was confused. However, Feng Wu was the most beloved team member now, and everybody listened to her. All 8 of them went to the arena. The indoor arena could fit 10,000 spectators. The competition would start in 2 hours, but people were already coming in. From the high platform, one could see all of the audience. 10% of the seats were occupied. Although it wasn't their home game, the military college would still send a lot of students here to watch the final competition. Imperial College was on the left, and the military college was on the right. It was clear-cut. Just then. Chapter 2854, Competition, 29. Just then, Chu Chu put his hands on his lower abdomen. My dantian feels warm. So does mine. Why does it feel like I'm making a breakthrough? The others exchanged bewildered looks. It wasn't just one of them, at least 6 people clutched their stomachs and said that it felt like they were about to make breakthroughs. Feng Wu grinned. Do it then. I'll guard you all. Make the breakthrough. Chu Chu looked at her in wonder. Is this the effect of Master Taiha's food? The others stared at her in amazement as well. That was amazing. This shouldn't be happening. Other students had eaten the food before. The meal was offered once a month. Although everybody praised the effect, it had never been on this scale. The reaction came too soon. Chen Ziyun gave Feng Wu a knowing look. She had gone into the kitchen earlier. That had to be the reason. If the girl said she had nothing to do with it, he wouldn't believe her. At that thought, he raised an eyebrow at Feng Wu and gave her a meaningful look. Feng Wu had nothing to say. The audience was amazed when they saw the team members suddenly sit down and start cultivating. They were indeed the best students of Imperial College. They only had a little time left before the competition, but they were still trying to cultivate. How amazing! Wait! Yi Han, who was sitting in the audience, widened her eyes. Xiao Xiao glanced at her. What? Yi Han said, Did you notice that? Chu Chu made a breakthrough just then. I felt it. Xiao Xiao sensed Chu Chu's spiritual essence and nodded in amazement. Yes, I feel it too. He hasn't reached the next level, but he's half a level higher than before. What? Shit. Yi Han was so thrilled that she blurted out, Look at Li Zhan. Wasn't he severely injured before? He looks perfectly all right now. He has advanced as well. The spiritual essence around him is different from the others. Xiao Xiao tried to sense it as well. Yi Han was right. Li Zhan isn't the only one. Zhao Si is doing it too. Xiao Xiao was so excited that he was almost in tears. Why are they making such rapid progress? Yi Han said, Rumor is that they went to eat Master Taiha's monthly feast. Xiao Xiao said, So, that food is really as amazing as they say. Yi Han and Xiao Xiao looked at each other. Ling Hao and the others were thrilled as well. We'll go there every month from now on. I'm sure we'll get lucky one day. Many people thought the same way. It seemed Master Taiha would have a lot more customers for a long time. That news couldn't be kept a secret. The military academy soon caught wind of it. Imperial College had given the military academy students their own rooms. Right now, they were all sitting in their rooms in seclusion. It wasn't for their cultivation. Everybody knew cultivation was a lengthy process and couldn't be rushed. They were only sitting there to calm their minds. Chapter 2855. Competition 30. Just then, someone ran into their area to look for Chu Yun. It was Chiu Ziyu. He used to be Chu Yun's student and knew her well. Do you want to talk to me? Chu Yun had a good impression of Chiu Ziyu. Chiu Ziyu looked at Chu Yun and said earnestly, I suggest you go to the arena now. Chu Yun was perplexed. Why? Chiu Ziyu had never been so serious before. You'll regret it later if you don't go now. I've said what I'm here to say. It's up to you. That's all I can do for you. He was going to leave after that. Chu Yun frowned and stopped him. Why are you helping us? Chiu Ziyu didn't speak. Chu Yun said, You're a student of Imperial College. Why do you want to help us? It was a competition between the two schools. It would affect the honor and future of both schools. Chiu Ziyu was from Imperial College. Why would he do the military academy such a favor? Chiu Ziyu stopped, turned his head, and looked at Chu Yun with eyes filled with hatred. Even Chu Yun jumped at that look. It seemed that Chiu Ziyu hated Imperial College to the bone. However, that look reassured Chu Yun. She went inside and roused the students. Let's go to the arena. Something's happening. The students were all perplexed. Chu Yun didn't know exactly what was going on, but Chiu Ziyu had come all the way to tell her, so it had to be something big. You'll see when you get there. Chu Yun led the way. Had something happened in the arena that would stop the competition from taking place today? She didn't want that to happen. They were in a hurry to get to Peace Grassland. Everybody was anxious. They arrived at the arena in no time. Seeing Gong Sun Mu standing there, Chu Yun walked up to him and asked, "Can we have the competition on time or not?" Gong Sun Mu was watching Sun Yu in astonishment and completely ignored Chu Yun. Chu Yun was displeased, thinking Gong Sun Mu was ignoring her on purpose. "Gong Sun Mu," she shouted. Gong Sun Mu was startled. He frowned when he turned around and saw Chu Yun. "Be quiet," said Gong Sun Mu. However, Chu Yun was furious. She was about to lose her temper when she saw something. She noticed Sun Yu. Then she was shocked. OMG! She couldn't believe her eyes. That couldn't be happening. What did she see? She saw spiritual essence wrapping around Sun Yu like a cocoon. He was absorbing this web of spiritual essence. Chu Yun had been there before. She knew perfectly well that once he finished absorbing the spiritual essence, he would become a spiritual king. A spiritual king. Chu Yun panicked. Chapter 2856, Competition, 31. Imperial College already had 2 spiritual kings. If he made the breakthrough, they would have 3. The military academy only had 3 spiritual kings. That was the only reason they thought they would win. Were they going to lose that advantage? No. Chu Yun wouldn't allow Imperial College to have a 3rd spiritual king. She was going to sabotage the breakthrough when she heard a cold voice in her ears. "Chu Yun, remember, this is Imperial College." The voice sounded like it was from hell. It sent a chill down her spine. She was the only one who could hear it. This was the technique of sending a message to one specific person. Only a spiritual king or above knew this technique. Chu Yun shuddered. She already knew who was warning her. It was Elder Wu. Chu Yun realized he was right. She was in Imperial College's territory. How could she tamper with anything? If they had been in the military academy, Chu Yun sighed. Meanwhile, the military academy students were cursing in their minds. Shit! Why is Sun Yu? How? Sheng Changtian and LV Haobei exchanged a complicated look. They had thought they would definitely win, but things wouldn't be so easy now. LV Haobei remained confident. He said casually, "They're all new spiritual kings. Their levels aren't stable and they haven't learned any cultivation techniques yet. They won't be our match." Lu Qinghe agreed. There was no need to worry. They were still a much better team. The military academy was definitely going to win. However, Sheng Changtian frowned when he looked at the other students. Wait. Sun Yu wasn't the only one. All the Imperial College students had improved to some extent. Sheng Changtian had detected their cultivation level earlier when they were in Star Cloud Tower, so he knew what they were like before. They've all made some progress. Sheng Changtian was a little flustered. He could understand if only a couple of them made progress. However, it was a big deal if all of them did it. It's been less than an hour, and they've all improved by at least half a level. What's going on? Sheng Changtian ground his teeth. If a team could make improvements together, that was a terrifying idea. Lu Qinghe smacked his head. Shit. Is it because of Master Taihe? Didn't they say eating Master Taihe's food might help improve a person's cultivation? They ate it and they've all become better. Lu Qinghe and the others were so jealous. That feast should have been theirs. That opportunity should have been theirs. Jealousy and rage almost drove them crazy. Sheng Changtian reacted in time and noticed their unstable mood. He said, "Calm down, all of you." The whole team immediately quieted down. Sheng Changtian said, "Do you know why they're not cultivating inside? Do you know why they're taking the risk to cultivate on stage?" Chapter 2857, Competition, 32. The others all looked at him. Lu Qinghe was the first to realize it. Shit. They're doing it on purpose. Who came up with that idea? How sly. Everybody looked at him. Lu Qinghe said, "They're deliberately cultivating here to distract us and boost their confidence. It's such a clever move." Sheng Changtian, LV Haobei, and Lu Qinghe were spiritual kings. Tang Mingjiang and Sun Jinyuan were level 9 spiritual lords. The Imperial College students were cheering loudly for Sun Yu's breakthrough. Sheng Changtian looked from them to their own seats. Because of their arrogance, their seats were still empty. He suddenly had a bad feeling. He couldn't pinpoint it, but he felt uneasy. He turned to his team. Let's summarize our opponents. Chen Ziyun, Feng Wu and Sun Yu are new spiritual kings. Li Xiaochu is a peak level 9 spiritual lord, and Wang Nian and Wang Xiao are advanced level 9 spiritual lords. However, Lu Qinghe glanced at Dynasty Team and said quietly, Wang Nian just became a peak level 9 spiritual lord. Sheng Changtian didn't know what to say. Their opponents had just become stronger again. Was Imperial College going to win this year? Sheng Changtian took a deep breath. Let's see what we've got. LV Haobei, Lu Qinghe and I are spiritual kings. Tang Mingjiang and Sun Jinyuan are peak level 9 spiritual lords. We and our opponents have exactly the same levels. We both have 3 spiritual kings and 2 peak level 9 spiritual lords, but we have a better chance because we made the breakthroughs earlier than they did. We've mastered the cultivation techniques for a longer time. Captain. Lu Qinghe smiled bitterly. That may not be the case. Do you want to say this is an away game for us? Sheng Changtian frowned. I'm sure we can overcome that disadvantage. Lu Qinghe reminded him, we lost the junior game. Sheng Changtian's face darkened. That was right. That meant Imperial College would determine the sequence of their 5 players. Shit. Sheng Changtian had forgotten about that fact, which was why he had been so proud. The idea was a hard blow to his confidence. Sheng Changtian gave Lan Xiefeng a dirty look. How could they have lost that competition? Lu Qinghe said, Captain, glaring at Lan Xiefeng won't change anything. Since Feng Wu is a spiritual king, our junior team couldn't have one. Tang Mingjiang was displeased. Isn't she ashamed of fighting for the junior team? She's a spiritual king. Lu Qinghe said, I asked around. That Miss Feng Wu only finished the paperwork to join the team today. The others were speechless. Lu Qinghe smiled bitterly. Even some of her team members questioned her qualifications to join them, so there was no way they would have put her on the varsity team. We also thought that she was a weakling at first. The others were speechless. Lu Qinghe glanced at Chu Yun. Miss Chu insisted that Feng Wu only won because Lan Xiefeng let her. The others were speechless. That was so embarrassing. Forget about Feng Wu. Sheng Changtian frowned. We must win this competition. I'll use that thing if I don't have any other choice. Chapter 2858, Competition 33. All his team members knew what he meant. They all knew that method, but because they had thought they would win, they never expected to use it. However, Feng Wu and her team were leaving them no other choice. Sheng Changtian smirked. Feng Wu is too proud. She probably has yet to show all her cards. LV Haobei also sneered. She'll pay for her pride. Lu Qinghe said, being a spiritual king has made her so arrogant. We'll teach her a lesson. Tang Mingjiang and Sun Jinyuan smiled smugly. Meanwhile, Feng Wu's team was still feeling excited. Chen Ziyun looked from Feng Wu to the other team members and said casually, Isn't that spirit wine so precious to you? Why did you put it in our food? Feng Wu said, Did I? Do you have evidence? Chen Ziyun didn't. He was intrigued. She had done a good thing. Why wouldn't she tell anybody? Why stay anonymous? Feng Wu wanted to shake her head. Of course she wanted to remain anonymous. Letting the others know would only create endless trouble. There were so many tutors and students in Imperial College. They could all come to her to ask for some spirit wine. If they only wanted a drop, would she give it to them or not? Therefore, she didn't give it to Elder Wu. However, she secretly helped her team. Chu Chu was the first to finish cultivating. He ran to Feng Wu in excitement. Xiao Wu, I've improved. I'm a level 9 spiritual lord, too. Feng Wu pointed at Sun Yu. Holy crap! Chu Chu saw that Sun Yu had become a spiritual king. He then realized that all his teammates had made great progress. He said, Master Taiha's food is so powerful. They were making progress as a group. Dynasty team had never felt so good. They're staring at us. Chu Chu glanced at Sheng Chongqian's team and smirked. He's glaring at me. He's such a bad loser. By then, everybody had finished cultivating. They were all in high spirits, and nothing could wipe the smiles off their faces. Feng Wu and Chen Ziyun went to the side to discuss the sequence for the other team, and the other members were left on stage. From now on, we're going to the Star Cloud Tower every month to see Master Taiha. The others all nodded. Do you really think our progress was because of Master Taiha? Wang Nian asked tentatively. Is it not? The others were intrigued. I thought it was Master Taiha too, but I heard Captain Chen talking to Xiao Wu just then. She added something to the dishes, which is why we all made progress. What did she add? I think it was the legendary spirit wine. Holy shit! Spirit wine? I heard about it from my tutor. She said everybody used to make fast progress when the school had a lot of spirit wine. No one got stuck at the spiritual king stage. However, the spirit wine ran out. 1. Chapter 2859, June. 1. Other people might think the spirit wine has run out, but Elder Wu mentioned that Xiao Wu found a bottle of spirit wine in the secret essence mine. What? She was almost buried alive, and she was still able to bring out a bottle of spirit wine? Yes. Elder Wu tried to ask her for some, but she wouldn't give him any. But she added some to the dishes we ate. How did Sun Yu become a spiritual king? How did we all make progress? It's all because of Xiao Wu. Wow. After that, everybody knew what had happened. Feng Wu was the reason they had all made progress in their cultivation. Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu. Everybody ran to her side. Feng Wu had just figured out the sequence for the other team with Chen Ziyun. The spirit wine was supposed to be a secret, so they couldn't thank Feng Wu openly. However, they still felt they should say something. Both the spirit wine and Master Taiha's dishes had come from Feng Wu. No one could deny that. They all looked at Feng Wu but didn't know what to say. Feng Wu knew what they were thinking. She glanced at them and said, "You're going to jump over a cliff if you can't win this battle." Yes, of course. Everybody nodded. Sun Yu stared at Feng Wu in excitement. He had made the greatest progress of all of them and had become a spiritual king. Without Feng Wu's help, he might never have become one in his lifetime. I won't allow anyone to disrespect you in the future, Sun Yu said solemnly. If they do, I'll kill them, along with anyone who tries to spread rumors about you. Feng Wu didn't know how to react. Just then, she saw people coming into the arena. And more kept coming. There hadn't been that many people during the junior team competition. Not only was the auditorium full, the judges had arrived. Chen Ziyun knew Feng Wu didn't know most people here, so he explained to her, the military academy students all sit in the area on the left. They're here to support their team. Because it's an away game for them, they take up only about 1/3 of the seats. The area on the right belongs to our school. They didn't want to watch us at first, but the seats are all occupied now. I think they have some confidence in us. Look there. Chen Ziyun pointed at the judges. The 2 seats in the middle belong to the 2 people with the highest authority from the 2 schools during this competition. Elder Wu will represent our school. That elderly man represents the military academy. He's Gongshu Hongzhu, a major general in the army. His status in the military academy is the same as Elder Wu in our school. Next to Elder Wu is Mr. Gong Sun Mu, and next to Major General Gongshu is Miss Chu Yun. We're still waiting for one more person. Feng Wu asked, Who? The chief judge. Chen Ziyun gave Feng Wu a meaningful look. His Royal Highness, the 6th brother of His Majesty, has been the judge for as long as I can remember. This year is no exception. His Royal Highness? Feng Wu asked. Is he the one who is away all the time and lives like a wandering ranger? 2. Chapter 2860, June 2. Chen Ziyun said, yes. Not only is His Royal Highness a capable man, he's strict and impartial. He's been our judge all these years and has never missed any competition. When he comes... Just then they hear noise outside. It was a hubbub of excited voices. I think His Royal Highness is here. Chen Ziyun smiled. But he was perplexed. His Royal Highness was an ordinary-looking middle-aged man. He didn't look like a royal member, and the energy he gave off reminded one of a sharp sword. People usually stayed away from him. Why was there so much noise? It wasn't like he was the crown prince. Just then he heard an excited voice. His Royal Highness, the crown prince is here. What? Everybody was astonished. His Royal Highness. Jun Linyuan. Seriously? Soon, a teenager walked into the arena. Wrapped in a black robe, his perfect figure reminded one of a pine tree. He had smooth skin and deep-set features. As he walked, his energy seemed to spread to the entire arena. Everybody felt a chill run down their spines. Feng Wu frowned a little when she saw Jun Linyuan. What was he doing here? Why did he come? Feng Wu asked Chen Ziyun, isn't it supposed to be the crown prince's uncle? Chen Ziyun was equally perplexed, but he reacted quickly. Since the crown prince is here, is it possible that His Royal Highness will be the chief judge today? Feng Wu said, are you sure? While they were talking, other people were already greeting Jun Linyuan. The audience was thrilled. Yi Han grabbed Ling Hao's hand. It's His Royal Highness. It's the crown prince. She didn't dare make too much noise, so she controlled herself and lowered her voice. Ling Hao was equally excited. It's him. It's him. Gosh, I never thought I could be so close to His Royal Highness. Ziling was also excited. She held Chaoga's hand and trembled with excitement. Chaoga! Chaoga! It's His Royal Highness. It's the crown prince. Just like all the other girls, Ziling was over the moon. Why aren't you excited? After her initial excitement, Ziling was perplexed when she saw the look in Chaoga's eyes. Chaoga said, why are you so excited? It's only the crown prince. Ziling's eyes widened. It's only the crown prince? Chaoga, you're so arrogant now. Why do you make it sound like you can see His Royal Highness all the time? Chaoga rolled her eyes. She saw the crown prince all too often. He seemed perfect, but all he wanted was to steal Xiao Wu away. Chaoga pouted. However, she didn't dare say any of that out loud. When Jun Linyuan was around, she was as obedient as a lamb. Hearing Ziling's question, she thought, I've seen the crown prince so many times. I even ate with him on several occasions. All the judges stood up and looked at Jun Linyuan. Gongshu Hongzhu lifted his chin in an arrogant manner. He pushed Elder Wu out of the way and sat down in the seat that was the closest to the crown prince. 3. Chapter 2861, June 3. Jun Linyuan hadn't come alone. He had a few people with him. Feng Sun and Xian Yi were by his side, followed by Feng and a few others. Gongshu Hongzhu moved closer and wanted to greet Jun Linyuan when Feng Sun frowned. General Gongshu, outsiders must stay 2 meters away from His Royal Highness. Only people like Feng Sun and Xian Yi could stay within a meter of him. Gongshu Hongzhu's smile stiffened. He wasn't discouraged. Instead, he took a step back and smiled at Feng Sun. Thank you for your reminder, my lord. Your Royal Highness, this way please. To the students, Gongshu Hongzhu was a supreme figure. However, Gongshu Hongzhu was nothing compared with Jun Linyuan. He hardly ever had a chance to meet Jun Linyuan, let alone approach him. Being a judge this time had given him a great opportunity. From the moment he walked in, Jun Linyuan didn't look at anybody. He would only glance in a certain direction every now and then. Hey! Chen Ziyun tugged at Feng Wu's sleeve. Do you think His Royal Highness has been looking in our direction? Feng Wu said decisively, no. Chen Ziyun gave her a strange look. No? Are you sure? Feng Wu repeated, definitely not. Chen Ziyun was confused. I really don't understand you. It was obvious that the crown prince had been looking this way. Suddenly he felt a chill run down his spine. He looked up and was frozen on the spot. OMG! The crown prince was looking at him. To be more precise, the crown prince was glaring at him. Captain, what's wrong? Sun Yu was perplexed. Chen Ziyun couldn't form a coherent sentence. He was panic-stricken. A thought struck him. Thump, thump, thump. He took a few steps away from Feng Wu. The power that threatened to crush him suddenly disappeared. He had guessed correctly. The crown prince really had a thing for Feng Wu. Feng Wu was perplexed. Why are you moving away? Come over here. Chen Ziyun waved his hand in a fluster. I'm sweating. I'll just stand over here. Feng Wu was about to walk to his side, but Chen Ziyun waved his hands repeatedly. Please don't come near me. I can just stand here. Really? If Feng Wu moved any closer, he would burst into tears. Feng Wu frowned and wondered what was wrong with the man. Just then, Chu Chu jumped out of nowhere. Xiao Wu, Xiao Wu. He made a gesture, trying to put his arm around Feng Wu's shoulder. It was only a gesture because he knew Feng Wu would react quickly and dodge his arm. Chen Ziyun watched in horror. All he could think of was Chu Chu's miserable death. It was too late to stop him. Chen Ziyun stuck out his foot and stuck it between Chu Chu's legs. With a thump, Chu Chu fell to the ground, face first. Chu Chu was speechless. He didn't know how that had happened. 4. Chapter 2862, June. 4. Chen Ziyun then looked in Jun Linyuan's direction. Jun Linyuan was talking to Elder Wu and wasn't looking at him, but Feng Sun gave him the thumbs up. Boss Feng was pleased. Chen Ziyun let out a breath of relief and grinned. He understood everything now. It was so obvious. He couldn't understand how Feng Wu could refuse to accept reality when it was obvious that the crown prince liked her. Wah! Still lying face down on the ground, Chu Chu wailed. Only then did Chen Ziyun realize he had kicked Chu Chu to the ground, so he immediately helped his teammate up. Are you alright? Does it hurt? Chen Ziyun feigned a concerned tone. Chu Chu was perplexed. Captain, was that you? Chen Ziyun said, Chu Chu, you're a big boy now, so be smart, or you'll get yourself killed one day. Chu Chu said, I? Chen Ziyun said, you're a boy, and she's a girl. Keep your distance. And don't call her Xiao Wu. Chu Chu was dumbfounded. What should I call her? Chen Ziyun said, anything but Xiao Wu. You can even call her boss Xiao Wu. Understood? Chu Chu nodded. Chen Ziyun reminded everybody how to address Feng Wu correctly so that all his teammates could stay alive. Sun Yu was confused. Captain, are you in love with F? The crown prince immediately shot a glance in their direction. Chen Ziyun felt his hair stand up. No, I'm not. Chen Ziyun glared at Sun Yu. If I have inappropriate thoughts about her, let me be condemned forever. Sun Yu was frightened. He didn't understand why his captain was so serious. Chen Ziyun whispered, watch your mouth. You'll get us in trouble. Sun Yu didn't quite understand what he meant, but he had a clue and glanced at the crown prince. By then, everything was ready. Everybody fell silent. Chu Yun had been trying to strike up a conversation with the crown prince, but Jun Linyuan stopped her with a harsh look. Just then, Gong Sun Mu said, shall we start the competition now? Jun Linyuan nodded. Chu Yun glanced at him. Shouldn't His Royal Highness be the one to make that decision? Gong Sun Mu looked at Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan looked at the crowd, but Feng Wu was the only one he could see. He didn't look at Chu Yun and only said, Gong Sun, you can do it. He knew Gong Sun Mu well. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked Gong Sun Mu to look after Feng Wu. Gong Sun Mu nodded and made the announcement. The two teams were asked to go on stage. Chu Yun threw a dirty look at Gong Sun Mu and was determined to find an opportunity to talk to the crown prince. The audience fell silent for a brief moment after the announcement, then everybody cheered and applauded. The voices went through the roof. The audience clapped for several minutes until the two teams were ready to go on stage. The military team was led by Sheng Changtian. Dynasty team was led by Chen Ziyun. 5. Chapter 2863, June. 5. Chen Ziyun was the first player, followed by Feng Wu, Sun Yu, Wang Yan and Li Xiaochu. Wang Xiao used to be one of the team members. For some reason, he didn't make any progress this time, and had to sit on the bench instead. The junior team members were substitutes for the varsity team. The competition would sometimes go into overtime, and the substitutes would compete instead. Sheng Changtian was filled with excitement. He and Chen Ziyun stood very close to each other. Sheng Changtian seemed pleased. He glanced at Chen Ziyun. His Royal Highness is the referee this time. Chen Ziyun nodded. I know that. Sheng Changtian said, he's the honorary president of my school. Chen Ziyun said, all right. Sheng Changtian glanced at him. Do you think your breakthroughs can affect us? Chen Ziyun said, so? Sheng Changtian said, with His Royal Highness here, my team will definitely win. Chen Ziyun said, are you suggesting His Royal Highness will be biased toward you? Sheng Changtian found the question idiotic. Wasn't that obvious? Chen Ziyun rolled his eyes at Sheng Changtian. Sheng Changtian said, what's that supposed to mean? Chen Ziyun offered no explanation, but he looked quite pleased. The last thing the Crown Prince would do was take the military academy's side. However, Chen Ziyun was going to keep that piece of information a secret. He wanted to see the look on Sheng Changtian's face when he finally found out about the relationship between Feng Wu and the Crown Prince. It would be incredible. Sheng Changtian frowned. Somehow, he felt Chen Ziyun was up to something, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Gong Sun Mu's face darkened when he saw Chen Ziyun and Sheng Changtian whispering to each other. Without hesitation he said, Dynasty team, please announce the order of your players. While Jun Linyuan was the chief referee, Feng Sun and Xian Yi didn't have anything to do, so they went to sit with Chaoga. Chaoga was sitting with Zi Ling, Yi Han and a few others. There were some empty seats beside her, so she waved at Feng Sun and Xian Yi when she saw that they were looking for seats. Over here. At first, the others didn't know who she was waving at, but then, they saw Feng Sun and Xian Yi coming their way. Ziling didn't know what to say. Yi Han was speechless. The other people around them also stiffened. Young Lord Feng Sun was coming here, and so was young Lord Xian Yi. They weren't just a pair of ordinary young lords. They were the only childhood friends of the Crown Prince. Their words carried more weight than that of many government officials. What are you doing there? Chaoga patted the seat next to her. These seats haven't been taken yet. Sit down. The competition is about to begin. Feng Sun and Xian Yi nodded and sat down. They had come here at the last minute, and almost all the seats had been taken. It took them a while to find Chaoga. The school had left seats for them, but Feng Sun didn't want to sit there. He liked to blend in and listen to the voices of the ordinary students. Six. Chapter 2864, June. 6. Everybody was astonished. Duan Chaoga just waved her hand, and Feng Sun came over. Were they very close? But none of them asked anything. They remained straight in their seats and kept their gazes on the stage. In fact, they had all pricked up their ears to listen. Why are you all here? Chaoga asked Feng Sun. Yi Han was amazed. By the sound of it, Duan Chaoga seemed to be very familiar with young Lord Feng. She kept listening. Feng Sun said, somebody heard that somebody else was going to be in the competition. You know what I mean. Chaoga immediately got the hint. I see. But the others were confused. They heard everything but they understood nothing. Who was somebody? Yi Han was dumbfounded. She glanced at Chaoga before looking at Jun Linyuan again. His Royal Highness. He was so handsome. His every movement looked as beautiful as a picture. Gong Sun Mu said, Dynasty team will announce the order of the players on the military team. The military academy section of the audience erupted in rage. Why does Dynasty Team get to decide that? There must be a mistake. The Imperial College students were pleased. Of course there's no mistake. Your school lost the junior competition. The Military Academy students said, how is that possible? The Imperial College students said, of course it's possible. Why do you think we're the ones announcing the order of the players? The atmosphere was tense even before the competition started. Chen Ziyun then made the announcement. Tang Mingjiang will be the first to compete, followed by Sun Jinyuan, Lu Qinghe, LV Haobei, and Sheng Changtian. The audience frowned. That order was from the weakest player to the strongest. Sheng Changtian had been the first player the year before, and he had single-handedly defeated Dynasty Team. After a lengthy discussion, that was Imperial College's plan this year. Why? The audience and judges were all confused. Even Dynasty Team didn't understand. All the team members looked at Chen Ziyun. Chen Ziyun shrugged. It's Xiao Wu's decision. Chu Chu said, Xiao Wu, what's the reasoning behind that order? Having been taught a lesson by Chen Ziyun, Chu Chu had almost called Feng Wu Boss Wu, but he decided Xiao Wu sounded better. Feng Wu said, I just want to give everybody a chance to take part in the competition. Chu Chu asked, is that all? Feng Wu said, that's all. The others were speechless. On second thought, they decided Xiao Wu was too wise to make such a simple decision. There had to be something behind it that everybody's eyes lit up when they thought about the possibility. Both teams had 3 spiritual kings. Although Dynasty teams were newer and weaker, they still had a chance. The team was excited. But right at that moment, buzz. They heard the sound of fluctuating spiritual essence. It was something that had happened to Sun Yu before. The audience stirred. Dynasty team grew uneasy. The sound came from the military team. Chapter 2865, 1 verses. 5:1. Everybody looked at the military team. It was Sun Jinyuan, the second player. He had just become a spiritual king. OMG! This shouldn't have happened. The military academy now had 4 spiritual kings. How did that happen? The Imperial College students felt defeated. That was such bad news. They lost all hope. For spiritual kings, they wouldn't stand a chance. In contrast, people of the military academy were smiling in satisfaction. So what if you can decide the order of our players? We're so much more capable than you. No matter how you arrange our players, we can still crush you. I knew it. There's no way we'll lose this competition. The military academy is invincible. Some of them even started singing. Ling Hao and his friends were furious, but they didn't know how to retort. They could only insist that 3 of them could defeat 4 opponents. Needless to say, their opponents sneered at them. Meanwhile, the competition finally began. Tang Mingjiang was the first player from the military academy. Everybody was eager to see who the Imperial College would send first. Were they going to send Chen Ziyun, their strongest member, or Wang Nian or Li Xiaochu, their weakest? Chen Ziyun looked at Feng Wu. He still had some say in the team when the Crown Prince wasn't here. However, His Royal Highness was here now, and he seemed very protective. Chen Ziyun didn't have a death wish, so he waited for Feng Wu to make the decision. The other teammates were perplexed and didn't know why their captain wouldn't say anything. Chen Ziyun ignored them and only looked at Feng Wu. He would do whatever Feng Wu told him to. Feng Wu looked at Chen Ziyun. Are you sure about letting me command the team? Chen Ziyun nodded. Yes. You can pick whoever you want. Feng Wu tilted her head. I think if we want the maximum effect, we should use the fewest number of people to defeat the most number of opponents. Chen Ziyun said, of course. Feng Wu said, in that case, I'm sorry guys. The others were confused. Why are you apologizing? Feng Wu said, the military team is yelling about how Sheng Changtian and LV Haobei defeated our team last year, and they're so pleased. Chen Ziyun and the others were embarrassed. It was true. It only took the military team 2 members to defeat the dynasty team the previous year. It was such a humiliation. Feng Wu said, How do you think we should return that favor and leave them with no excuse? Sun Yu said, the only way to do that is to defeat all 5 of them with 1 player. He knew that wasn't possible. Feng Wu nodded. You're correct. What? Everybody gave her strange looks. What was that supposed to mean? Feng Wu said, only one of us will fight this time. We'll rob them of all their confidence. That you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.